I'm gonna try. I don't know if Mel's down,
I,
but I'm gonna
I'm.
try.
They need me. What can I say?
Yeah, I'm just trying to help out, especially the new people that joined. I want to try and give as much help to them as possible too. And
Yeah, we were farming some nethers for the arms warrior last night. He needs 3 more.
I kept like saying I was gonna do that right after I turned in this last batch of quests on my rogue, and then I just kept not doing it. I'm just so addicted to the rogue right now, man.
That's okay.
Trying out all these different specs and like just like remembering all the different tools I have, and like, there's not a lot of buttons, but all the tools do so many good things. I don't know how
I
to
can turn
explain.
invisible.
Well, then in different
Incredible.
specs, like I had kind of like I knew, but had kind of forgotten that like there's a whole bunch of moves you learn throughout the trees. You know what I mean? That are only talent specific. All right. We can let Duranasaur know we are live. I'm gonna start tweeting out.
Test real quick.
Do you want us to test? Testing audio 1 2 3. Audio's good. Okay, I think I have everything I need.
Okay, yeah, I was just testing my mic.
Oh, I'll tweet out. You can tell the guild if you want to.
Who? I don't even know those people. Whoa, I look weird.
Are you showing up in my box? Because that's the green screen box.
We're showing up. I'm showing up all over the place.
Yeah, that's gonna happen until Duranasaur jumps in. But yeah,
cool.
the one at the top left is the one that has a chroma key on it. Like you chroma key your own into us.
Yes,
whereas I have to chroma key mine.
You chroma key it in the stream, yeah.
Yep. Retweeting. And Duranasaur, I'd let him know he's going to join us shortly.
Sweet.
Oh.
You guys have a good holiday?
Yeah. Oh, I might mention it a little bit on the show, but yeah, we got to go to the mayor's party, we got to go to the mayor's gala when he was sworn in. Like those types of things are so interesting and weird. Like just Kansas City celebrities there, and like the anchor of like the anchor of like oh man, I feel bad now. I'm forgetting Fox or whatever, the local Fox station. The anchor was there, like all kinds of stuff.
We were doing the heroics, and they're like, "Oh, where's Bob? Why wasn't the podcast tonight?" And I was like, Bob wanted to like go to dinner. He went out to eat instead, I think. Bob just I didn't know you could do that.
Left out the part about going with the mayor of Kansas City.
I revealed it eventually, but I was just like, I think he just went out to eat and just
Duranasaur, welcome. Oh, nope, the audio's there. It goes.
Yep, I just had to turn it on. Voice activated. Hello.
Sweet. Yeah, we make that mistake weekly. All right, so you remember the drill, the local recording.
Oh yeah, jazz. I thank you for the reminder.
No problem. What's up, Winky? Welcome.
Yo, we brought a whole hardcore gang in.
Winky, you have got to have me on F's in the chat sometime. I've been watching it recently, and it's so much fun.
Everyone can make fun of I made my first hardcore character, and I can tell my journey.
We are definitely going to talk about that and what we've been doing. Yep,
that's exciting.
A little spoiler. It's a lot of fun. It was more fun than I was ready for. I was out there fishing. I was out there cooking. I was like, look at all these things.
Danger around every corner.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it all next week because Mel's out of town, but I keep struggling to get on and do it this week because we're like, we're having so much fun on our new characters, our rogue and our hunter. And so.
Dang, Mel, you're ruining this hardcore dream for Bob.
All right.
Please get out of town.
All right.
Sorry.
Looks like everything looks good on the stream. Everybody's name's in the right place. let's go ahead and let's start our recording so we can get this show on the road. Let me know when everybody's recording is going.
Yep, I'm good.
Oh my God.
I'm recording.
Sorry, mine did something. There it goes. Okay, mine's good too. All right, so you remember the 3, 2, 1 check twice and then the clap?
Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1, check.
Check.
It's okay. 3, 2, 1, check.
Check.
Now the clap. 3, 2, 1. And now let it clear for 10 seconds for the background noise. And we're good. All right. Sorry to anybody in chat that we normally do that off stream before we come on, but that's how I sync up the audio later on for the audio version and makes the show a lot better.
We usually avoid the awkward silence live.
Yeah. It is the longest 10
good.
seconds.
I think people like seeing the behind the scenes. I think it's cool.
Maybe. All right. Well, any questions before we start? We can just jump right in. I think I've got everything going. All right. This is just for me. Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic, TBC Classic, and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blazin' Bob, and today I'm joined by Ryan, a.k.a. The Yip Show. How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, as always. Thank you for allowing me to give my presence here.
Your intro is so much better now that I don't have to say cognitive pit. I'm just so happy. I've even got it changed on your faceplate now, and it's just great.
It only made it worse because you tried to give every single one of my names. You have like a list of all my alts. Like, okay, Yippers, Yippa, Yippa.
I just try to be thorough. We're also joined by Mel, a.k.a. Melarina. How you doing?
Hello, I would like to say that I think Yip naming himself the Yip Show is a little bit.
Just call me Yip. You didn't have to do that. I just
I'm
can't
just
get my
saying.
name on socials. That's the
Wait,
big.
I assumed you started your own show, and that's where it's from.
Soon.
Okay.
It's like I'm going independent. I'm not getting out of here.
Yeah,
it's
what is this like? Are we the boy band, and you're like branching out, trying to go solo here?
I'm Justin Timberlake.
Justin's got to do Justin, right?
I think you're more like the other ones that nobody knows their name that tried to go independent. You know what I mean?
I'm bringing sexy back. Can we introduce Duranasaur now?
All right. And joining us again this third time on the show, Duranasaur. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing phenomenal. I was sleep deprived for about a week, but I'm like back into it, and I've just been having a blast. It's been a ton of fun. SOM has been more than I ever thought it was going to be. Just a truly great experience.
Yeah,
so, thanks for having me.
It's been super interesting. We're going to get to talk about that too pretty early in the show. I'm letting everybody know we're coming to you late this week. We're a day late. Mel and I had an opportunity to go to the Christmas tree lighting party for the mayor of Kansas City. And it's a unique opportunity you just don't turn down. And so it was a good time, but we just had to do that,
Yeah, the Warcraft Reloaded podcast was invited to the mayor of Kansas City's lighting show.
We're doing coverage. Yeah.
Coverage. The mayor plays, by the way.
There you go. Yeah. It ties together. Yeah.
All right, so this week we're gonna go over our normal reviews. We got a lot of reviews this week, so we're not gonna be able to do them all. We'll save some for next week. Then we had a couple emails, and then we are going to get into what we've been doing this week. We're gonna get into a lot of what Duranasaur has been doing its Season of Mastery this week. Then we'll go on to the news. There's not really a ton of talking points on the news, but we're going to go through it just because that's what we do every week. And then at the end, we're going to talk about the latest interview from Josh Corbett, interviewing Brian Birmingham from Blizzard. And we're going to kind of talk about different points that we wanted to talk about in what was said in that interview. And so that's going to be the show. So with that being said, What's everybody been doing this week? Oh no, sorry. I totally.
Speaking of reviews.
Oh yeah. We had some reviews. Yep.
Yeah. So the first one, the best WoW podcast. Thank you very much. Simply the best WoW podcast out there, from top to bottom. This podcast is just really good. Loads of different guests come through and give really interesting points of view, and the hosts do such a good job to keep everything from news to tangents interesting. I love Yip's RuneScape talk. Iron Man, by the way. These three deliver every week.
I was
Thank
wondering
you.
what RS stood for.
Means
was like-
RuneScape, old school RuneScape, baby.
I
We're
was like,
playing
"What's
Iron
RS
Man
for?"
mode.
Yep. Yeah. It's the whole Yip Soul Iron Man. By the way, deal.
I know. Yip says RuneScape, and I like tone out. Sometimes I fall asleep.
Yeah, they're just-
I
You
think
turn
you
the
were
camera off
absent.
to go to bed.
I think you were absent the episode that he talked about that. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
Yeah,
What did I fall asleep absent, or was I really
which
absent?
kind of absent. All right, Bob, you should read this next one. I feel like you should.
Well, just to let everybody know, that one was
This one's
from
from New
New
Zealand.
Zealand. Yeah. This one is from Norway, and it just, I got a kick out of this. So the title is The Second Best Thing to Come Out of Kansas City. This podcast is the second best thing to come out of Kansas City after Tank 7. The show has a nice pace to it. Just remember to let Mel finish her sentences, guys. Smiley face.
See?
Now, this is in Norway, and I had no idea Boulevard Tank 7 was available in Norway. We have a local brewery called Boulevard Brewery Company. It's got great beers. They are all over the States, but I had no clue they had made their way to Norway. So I got a big kick out of this one. So thank you for that.
I think you're focusing on the wrong part of that review. Can we talk about the second sentence? Because I feel like I'm not alone.
Mel,
in
please,
this.
we have more reviews to get to.
And to remark on that, we all do it. I try to fix it in the actual audio version. Like the live version is going to have people talking over people. It's the way Discord works. The beauty of the audio version is I'm able to space those things out as if we just talked in turn. But a real conversation doesn't happen like that, and we don't run the show as if you're not allowed to interrupt and interject. We could run
Unless
it
Mel's
like
talking.
that, but we
You
decide
shouldn't
but we
Mel.
decide not to because it brings for better conversation, in my opinion. So
Thanks so much for your review.
yes, thank you so much.
The next
love
one is on Warcraft Radio. Hey, y'all. Bob definitely didn't pay me to write this review. Wink. I love this podcast and I've been listening for a while, so I thought I should help out and write a review. Bob, Mel, and Yip do a great job of capturing their WoW experiences every week from the perspectives of people who play to have fun, but also clear the content. The three have a nice dynamic between them because Bob is an excellent host, doing his best to keep everyone on topic. Sometimes he's just keeping everyone on topic. Sometimes he's the tangent maker, but
Right.
also going along with the occasional tangent. Oh, I just should have kept reading. Yip is the best at recaps and stories, and Mel chimes in with very funny and relatable counterpoints. Lately, they've been bringing on guests, and it's been great to hear their perspectives on different issues as well. I particularly look forward to Melderon's now monthly appearances, as his takes on most issues are very well thought out and reasonable. Here's to many more episodes to come. For the Alliance! Best regards, Dylan. Thank you very much, Dylan. I agree. Melderon is much smarter than us, so it's always good to bring him on and get
He is a scientist, right?
get
So.
an
Sure.
educated
But
opinion.
Yeah, he does say something about the guests. We've had a lot of guests on over the different episodes. So you said lately, so maybe you just started. You might look back because we usually try to add in featuring so-and-so into the title. You might look back at some of them because our very first guest we got so lucky. I wrote him like a book asking him to come on. But episode 6, Salve Dally came on and gave us the credibility to get other guests, which was huge for us starting out. And so we've had a lot of really good guests. So I
I feel like we go in
implore
waves,
you.
though.
We do go
I
in
feel like-
waves sometimes.
Like sometimes we go weeks and weeks without a guest, and then it's like
Oh.
6 weeks with always a guest. Like
I thought Mel was chiming with a hot take. Like, sometimes we get bad guests, though.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
I was like,
yeah, well,
Sometimes we have Duranasaur on, and
it's
I'm just kidding.
it's the guest part is one of the hardest things that I do. I have to work with time zones across the pond, different things, and I think it's one of the best parts of the show, so I keep doing it, but it is one of the harder parts and getting the times to work out. So we'll continue to do that, but just know, like, we don't always have guests.
Yep. And then we got a couple emails. I'm going to save this first email for next week and jump down to the second email, which is more of a review. This other guy tells a great story that I want to save for content when we'll need it. I feel like we'll have a lot to talk about already. But this other email, hey guys, great podcast. I've been listening since your very first episode. 5 stars all around. Always a joy to listen to. Makes my morning and afternoon drives home from work that much more enjoyable throughout the week. Keep up the great work. P.S. No hard feelings. Your pal, Six Side, aka Six Gate, the bottom feeding hunter.
This is the guy that last week I called out for camping us in Hellfire
Yep.
while we were leveling.
Yep.
Oh
Yep.
man, nice.
Oh,
It's too-
man. It made my
I
day.
told you. I even said don't do it. I was like,
No, listen, I
I
wanted him to know.
Okay, so bottom feeder was definitely harsh, but I wrote him
I
back
didn't say that.
and said no hard feelings at all. Part of it was real and part of it was just, it's funnier if I'm more mad on the podcast. Like, you know what? Some of it is embellishing a bit, you know what I mean? And like, that's what makes it funnier, is that I was so angry. But
I wasn't embellishing.
it now makes sense, though,
I was angry.
that he followed us around. Because if he listened from the first episode, he probably was like, oh, shit. I get to kill Bob and Mel for the next hour and a half. This is going to be
Over and
great.
over and over again. I feel like
got a
that should
target on
buy
your
us
back
some
now.
some time here, right? Come on.
Oh, man. I thought it was great. I mean, but yeah, no hard feelings at
No hard
all.
feelings,
It
Six
was, it was just, for the show. But I will know if you
But
come
if
close to
you
me, because
Six
I have
Side-
warnings now. So,
Yeah, if you see Six Side on White Mane, just kill him, okay? Thanks.
yep. And we're also
It's only fair.
65 now, so we'll be harder to take down this time. We've been killing 70s. We'll talk about it later, though. All right, guys, what have we been doing lately in WoW? We're going to talk to Duranasaur at the end of this. We're going to do what we've been doing lately as hosts, raid progress. It's real short. And then we're going to talk basically a big thing about Season of Mastery with Duranasaur and Yip. So, Yip, besides Season of Mastery, what have you been doing?
side season of Mastery, what have I been doing? Raid logging? Is that an answer? It was Thanksgiving. Give me a break. I didn't,
Slacker.
just Season of Mastery.
Awesome. Okay. Then, Mel, what have you been doing?
Well, I've been working up my hunter, which again, I find out new things I can do hourly on my hunter. And then Bob gives me this complex. He's like, sometimes you kill mobs really fast, and sometimes it's like I don't even know if you're shooting. And I'm like, okay, that's rude. But yeah, maybe it's because I crit or maybe don't miss or something. I don't know. But I'm trying to figure all of this out. And it's a lot of fun. I really like it. I've died a lot. Feign death doesn't always work, which is really stupid, by the way.
She refuses to switch
Should
from
not
the
get
wolf
resisted.
because she got to name it Ariel after our dog.
Hmm.
You
Okay,
can name
no.
the Ravager that too if you'd like.
Okay, I tried to tame a Ravager once and it didn't work, and so I kind of gave up, and I need to look up how to do it, but it's fine. I think I need to put my pet away. Or maybe I need to stable my pet. I don't know.
These
I
are the
think you need to
problems
stable
with
your
boosting
pet.
to level 58.
This is awesome. I like Mel's
Okay.
perspective when she plays the new character.
Yeah.
Playing like Holy
I've never
Druid
played a
and like.
damage character like this much either, and so
Do you see your
you played a
damage pop up
mage.
when you attack?
yeah.
Oh, I was just wondering. Because you're saying like you were wondering if you miss or crit.
No. I do. I see it say miss,
Okay.
and I see it crit, but I don't know. My wolf does a lot of damage. I like my wolf. Okay, my wolf's cool. It doesn't die, for the most part.
It doesn't. That is absurd because, like, the warlock pet got gypped because the hunter pet is like a monster, man. Like, I don't know
Oh,
what
yeah.
the
I
hell.
send it in there. I drink, and then by the time I start shooting it, he has all the aggro. So it's great. It's wonderful. But I will say, I died a bunch of times because I would try to run through mobs, and I don't have very much health either. So I try to run through mobs to get to where I needed to be to feign death. And so one thing happens, I either get to the end where I feign death and then it resists, or I die before I get to where I need to be and I feign death in the middle of 22 mobs. And I'm like, okay, well, now I'm at 3 health and I can get up out of this or whatever. So that's pretty much what I've been doing. We got to 65.
Yep. I've been doing the same with her as the rogue. I ended up lucking into 2 really cheap level 64 daggers. I forget the names of them, but they life steal, and I got them for like 10 gold each. And so I thought to myself, well, probably not going to get to play Mutilate at all later on. So I'm going to do that like just for fun. And I've been having a good time doing Mutilate, and we haven't really been picking fights with people because we are outnumbered. We don't want them to be like talking, but people have picked fights with us, and we can kill 70s now together. Like it's pretty
Okay,
cool.
can you guys have my back on this? Like, we're leveling, we're like moving and grooving, and somebody kills us. And then Bob wants to hunt them down for the next like hour and a half. And I'm like,
With
you're
my other character,
wasting
of course.
so much time.
She
Like,
hates it. Like, I want to
oh,
go, and I'm like, all right, challenge accepted. Let's do this. And I'm like, jump, and I've stopped doing it because it makes Melissa so angry. But I used to have
I'm on a mission.
Blazing Bob with his full PvP set and stun Herald hovering above whatever zone we're in, and they're 2 separate accounts. So as soon as I would die and switch to Blazing Bob, dive bomb into him, like, and just try and like kill him, like, and then I want to stay there and camp him for a couple more times because they killed my poor little Lobby. But Mel's like already doing all the other quests, and she's like, I'm like, okay, I'll stop doing that. But it's
All right, I've got on my
easier
noggin
now.
scales.
But it's easier now because I can kill at the gear that I'm at right now and the spec that I am. I can kill level 70s that aren't plate wears. So like
Okay,
it's been pretty fun to be able to just be like, oh, you shouldn't have attacked me, should you have?
so I think the hardest thing on a new character where I don't really know what to do, which is a hunter, is when I get attacked, PvP, I'm like, ah, hold on, wait, I need to send my pet into you. I'm too close to you to do anything. Like, I don't know what to do. And like, I freak out and I just don't do anything. And then it's like, basically, I was AFK.
Yep.
And I don't
And
know. I know I'm supposed to put down like my frost trap and concussion shot and all that stuff, but that stuff does not come to me when I'm not expecting them to kill me.
well, and nobody thinks of me as a rogue, but I played rogue the 80% of my WoW career through Kata, like prior to this. Like I've been branching out all of Classic, and now I'm just coming home in preparation for Wrath. But yeah, that's what we've been doing. Um, yep. Do you want to take us through our raid progress? We had a few people quit. It was a bummer. A few integral people quit.
Yeah, it was a bummer. No, but
It was a
we had a
bummer
couple
at the
people
start.
leave.
Yeah.
We had a couple people leave. Um, but people who leave after 1 week of a bad raid night, I'm not gonna. My heart doesn't go out to that.
Yeah.
So we got a couple trials in. One we replaced the rest of Shaman who ended up leaving, and then we brought in 2 warriors because hey, I'm trying to build the best raid possible for me, and everyone else can suck it. And I'm a warrior, and I wanted an arms warrior. And so I start looking for a DPS warrior, and I get hit up. I guess I don't know if there's a lot of guildless warriors, but a Fury warrior hits me up, and he's been just GDKPing and has some pretty great numbers and insane gear, a DST already. Our guild only has 2 DSTs, so when he came to me and was like, "Hey, I want to play Fury," I was like, "Whatever, come into the melee group. We need more battle shouts anyway. I want a battle shout, so I want commanding and battle. Come into my group." And then we picked up an arms warrior to trial as well too, but he came Fury for the first week because there's no such thing as a guildless arms warrior. He's not choosing to be arms out in the world. He's who would do that? Uh, so we go in. We've got a crew that I don't want to say a skeleton crew, but we're missing. I think like another shaman who decides not to come that night. So we're running like 3 shamans. We only have 1 raid night this week because of Thanksgiving. So we extend Tuesday to 4 hours to see if we can go 9 of 10. That was our goal going in. Is let's hit 9 of 10 to see if we can do that. Um, I don't know if Bob has any specific fights that he wants to point out, but Warriors are pretty nuts on trash. I didn't realize how good on trash Warriors are. Our trash clears were insanely fast. We got through SSC really, really quickly.
We just destroyed it right up to Vash. I mean, it was hard to keep up with like anything because we didn't wipe. Like everything was just pretty much gravy. I do want to talk. It was pretty funny. I don't know which one of the two new warriors we had said it, but one of them when we were on the one after Leo. What is it?
Fathom Lord.
Fathom Lord. He goes, "Did you just tank Fathom Lord Enraged?" He was so
Yeah,
confused because he never seen that strategy where you don't kill the healer chick.
I did look pretty good. It was we,
Oh,
we
good
do the
job, yeah.
strat where we keep the healer on the side and he just enrages, but honestly, it doesn't seem that bad. Like the damage
I
I
think that's
take.
because you have epic healers.
Well, yes, the healers are great, but like the
I'm
spikes
not
aren't bad
sure
either.
any other tank besides Warrior could do it as easy though.
Druid can do it the easiest,
Oh,
actually.
really?
Druid can do everything easy. Any high mitigation fight, Druid should really be tanking because they can just dodge everything. So they can just dodge 80% of the hits, and then you have nothing to worry about. But yeah, for us trying it the first few times, I think Warrior is really good because you have Shield Wall and you have a lot of you have Last Stand available to you, so you do have a lot of options that when things get scary, you Last Stand for the entire time that the enrage is up. Pretty much, so you have a ton of health. So it is pretty useful. But I don't Shield Wall in that fight because I save it. So,
I guess we should probably mention also the one I'm worried about the most is our Affilock just disappeared at the start of the
oh
raid
yeah,
last week, and I even have his cell phone number, and he hasn't answered me back. So I hope to God Ozzy is okay out there and just wanted to quit and didn't want to deal with it. But I hope him and his family are good. But he
I hope
was
he
our
got banned. That's my guess. Is he got banned and he's too embarrassed to tell us?
oh
That's
maybe
what I
maybe
think.
well he was our
Someone who disconnects in
Affilock.
the middle of raid. He was our Affliction Lock has
We
disappeared.
went
So that
down to
Well, this
3
is the week
locks.
after. This is the week after our raid leader got banned, like mid raid, and
2
couldn't
weeks.
attend. Oh yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, and
Were
like
they? Was it gold buying? You think?
no, because that would be 3 days, unless he's been banned 3 days prior, and maybe they like ramp up
No,
the.
his was probably the fact that he had went from 60 to 64 that week doing slave pens polls. He probably got an auto ban from people reporting him inside the instance. Now, the other people that got raided did get a gold buying ban.
yeah. But he like would watch us on Discord live and like still raid lead. I was like, this is probably easier for him.
Yeah, I think they
That's
do
what
that
like.
on retail.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's what like some of the top retail raiding guilds like. Their raid leaders in progression like don't even raid. They just like watch perspective and just like make call outs.
Crazy.
That's more hardcore. It went well though, even with somebody who's clear headed just watching. So that was that worked out. But that was last week. This week was we had not a full crew, but we had a raid leader back, which is good.
Sure.
We go to TK. That was also totally fine. I'm trying to think if anything crazy happened.
Oh, you
We got
should probably mention that instead of raiding on Thanksgiving, we just did a 4-hour raid night
I
Tuesday
did already,
night.
Bob.
Oh,
If you could
sorry, I missed
please,
it. My
yeah,
bad.
if you could please listen to me.
I'm trying.
I will say one of the new warriors brought up on Alar, like the trash before Alar. It's like, you can just like go to the other side and then he won't charge anybody or something. And we were like, oh, okay.
It's fine. It's a fine strategy. I don't think it's that much easier, but yeah, one of the warriors came in. Someone who does a lot of GDKPs and pugs, they always have like some tips and tricks we've never seen before. Like, haven't you guys heard of this? And he backflips off a Lars platform and kills it instantly or something. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, we should do like that from now on. He did do really well in Vash. It was his first Vash kill on his warrior, and he was like rank 177 Fury Warriors, and it wasn't a particularly fast kill or anything, so he definitely showed his mettle. And then TK went good. We had an insane amount of nethers drop. They were just going to rolls. They were going to our trials. That was pretty insane. The red battle belt finally dropped, the pattern. So now we're only missing Belt of Blasting of the belts that haven't dropped in raid. But we ended up 9 of 10 with like 15 minutes to spare. We probably could have maybe, if we were sure we could one-shot TK, we would have gone and done it, but we had so many new people, and our raid was
KT.
just
Yeah.
KT. Thank you. We would have gone there. You know what? No, KS. I'm going with. I'm revolutionizing this. His name's Kael'thas Sunstrider. I'm going with my new name. He's KS.
It could just
But
be KTS.
KTS, sure, we can go with that as well too. I don't care. But we had a really good raid night. I think everyone feels a lot better compared to last week. Um, I I think a couple of the people who left ended up being rather like toxic personalities overall, or there are people who maybe brought more toxicity into the guild than anything else. So I think everyone is pretty happy with how we're moving forward.
I don't know. I miss who we lost, but we won't get into that. We don't bring guild drama in, but I do have.
It's not guild drama; they're not in the guild.
I want to say a little funny story. So we got some new members of the guild, and like lots of times, people won't know about the podcast, and so it's like over the weekend, or maybe I don't know when it was, but he like posts a tell that he got from some random person. It was like, "Oh, you're in that podcaster dude's guild," and he was like, "What?" He posted our Discord. Anybody know what he's talking about? And I was just cracking up because I was like, "Yeah, it's gonna happen from time to time now."
It's a symptom of we're not a podcast guild. We're just in a guild and with a podcast. It's like half the people in our guild don't. They're like, "What? Like, what are you talking about?" Podcast.
Oh man, but yeah, it was pretty funny. It was good though. We got some new members. I'm excited for the future, and it really just I was worried at the start of that night, and then like halfway through, I'm like, okay, well, we got this.
Yes, thanks to once again, if you've been listening since the beginning, Yip's incredible recruiting skills just it's kept this guild together.
Yep, I could say that's probably a true statement. Okay, so
I can disagree with that.
well, we'll let you recruit next time, Mel. She's gonna go to Goldshire on her night of hunter and just dance, right?
I don't subject myself like that.
Okay, unleash the gates, open the floodgates, season of master.
You ready? Okay, who wants to go first? Because Duranasaur, if I'm not mistaken, was world first solo level 60 hardcore, which Wowhead didn't write an article about, but they wrote an article about the first duo.
That's
we
true.
have that in the note. But would you like to start?
Sure. Yeah, I can jump into it. Yeah, I guess it's because I wasn't the first hardcore 60. But to be fair, the duo who hit 60 first, it was Tommysalami and Tactics. Those guys are world record holding WoW Classic speed levelers, right? They both have written guides on leveling, like the Rested XP guide that came out when TBC came out. They like did all the research and came out with one for vanilla, one specifically for Season of Mastery with the XP changes. Like they are some of the fastest levelers, in vanilla World of Warcraft, like across the board. So they ended up hitting 60 as a duo, which you can do in hardcore. I don't know. We can jump into more of the hardcore rules if we want. But you're allowed to do a duo as long as you were always like in a party together, and you have to be like in the same zone and just like you're joined at the hip, right? If one person dies, you both delete the character until you hit 60, and then you become free from that chain. But they hit 60 first, and then I was like kind of in line, I guess. Jokered, who was the very first 60 when Classic WoW first came out, he was actually like way ahead of me in terms of being like the first solo person, and he ended up dying. And when he died, it was sort of like, okay, like if I really want to do this, I can do it.
No sleep till Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I took like a 4-hour nap and got up and did one last 19-hour session, and I got it done. All without dying.
19 hours?
Yeah, that whole week is a blur to me. Because if you go back to the very beginning, so it came out on Tuesday morning. I kind of woke up in my normal time, and at the time I had on the Classic era vanilla servers, I had a hardcore hunter that was level I want to say like 57.5. And I was like, okay, well, I'm up, I'm awake. Let's see if I can hit 60 on this classic era hardcore hunter before Season of Mastery comes out. And I just like started playing it, and then we put like a countdown clock up on the stream, and I hit 60 on that character with about a minute and 40 seconds to spare. So then I ran to the bathroom, came back, sat down, and then Season of Mastery launched. And I just jumped right into that character and did like I think I did like, 24-ish hours on that character, and then slept for like 3 or 4 hours, and then came back and did like another session. And then
I got to stop
all
you
that.
right there. You didn't just do mom bathroom.
No, unfortunately I didn't have access to anyone that was able to come down and assist me in my moment of need. But yeah, so that was a blast the first week. The leveling being boosted and being faster definitely helped out a lot too, because it's like I ended up getting done in just under 4 days played. It was like 3 days, 23 hours, and like 48 minutes. But yeah, it was a whirlwind. And then I was lucky enough to be the first hardcore solo 60, even though it's you got to add a lot of little like addendums to it. But it was
Not
a
that
ton of fun.
many. Not
Yeah.
that many addendums. That's incredible.
And you did that as a
Joker's
hunter,
death. If
right?
no one's watched that death, you should go watch it. It was kind of sad to
The
watch.
Jokered one?
Yeah, the Joker
Yeah.
death was just like, oh.
If you want to watch if you want to watch a Joker video that's amazing, it's the one where he was I'm pretty sure he was on the beta servers of Season of Mastery, and people were following him around and killing him with infernals for like 38 deaths.
Yeah. There was a lot of that going on the beta, as like people were trying to practice their runs, because you could make 60s, right? So people would make a level 60 warlock and just like follow you around and drop infernals on you and stuff.
And what sucks is that Blizzard gave them the infernal, because anybody who's a warlock knows that to get the infernal, it's not like a really easy thing. It's a pretty time-consuming quest chain to actually finally be able to do that. Like, I could do it on my lock, but there's lots of locks that just don't even... I would probably say the majority of locks don't have the ability to bring down an infernal.
Well, I think they're finding plenty of ways to grief even without the infernal on Season of Mastery.
Yeah.
They don't need the infernal. they're doing enough.
One of the biggest ones that I've seen just working up with Mel, and I saw this back in Classic too, is people will run through a bunch of mobs that are around you, and then once they get out of the chain and they come back, they aggro onto you, and that's like the meanest thing that I've seen.
I think that I'm not going to say that that's fine, but it's like people pulling dragon elites into Storm stuff are really bad. It's
the real trolls.
Yeah.
The Taramis kite is a pretty famous one, because that happened even on, so like during Classic Vanilla.
Yeah,
the whole hardcore thing started, a year and a half ago or whatever, and it was a pretty regular thing that someone outside of the hardcore community would just like kite Taramis to Stormwind, and hardcore characters would just be dying left and right, and it's like, well, that's too bad.
Yeah, I logged into Season of Mastery for the first time, and just general chat's like, is the dragon around? Is Stormwind safe? And I was like, what is happening here?
That's why you should be hanging out in Ironforge. There's no reason to be in Stormwind if you're not getting the
everyone
dragon
levels
blessing.
to the human zones. Let's be real. No one's ever leveled anywhere else, apparently, as far as I can tell.
I mean, I literally, my Season of Mastery tune, I'm going to be human just because I don't want to do the gnome starting area for the lock. And I figure, like, okay, I'll lose Escape Artist, which is kind of a big deal, but I just don't want to even do enough of it to get, and I don't want to be a gnome anymore. I'm a gnome in TBC Classic. I hate it. Like, so I'm just, if I'm doing Season of Mastery hardcore, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
But okay, so you did that as a hunter, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you probably didn't use the guide, because you've even done a hardcore challenge on a hunter without a pet. I don't know if you completed it, but I know I tuned into a lot of. The last time I saw you, you were like in the late 40s level on that quest. Did you complete that?
Yeah, I did. That one was on Horde. I actually so I did use the guide quite a bit for this because I don't know Alliance very well. And even though
That makes
I
sense.
had just finished like an Alliance run on Classic Era, like moments before SOM came out, I still that was the first Alliance character I had leveled in like a few years. So I definitely did utilize the guide, and it works out because they've been sponsoring like this whole thing that we're doing. Um, so I definitely did use the guide, and yeah, it helped a ton. I've talked to people even now that are like, oh man, like I'm at level 36 and I have over 3 days played. Like, how did you do it so fast? And I'm like, I just followed the guide. I don't know what to tell you.
What you use as your professions? Because that's something I've been really thinking about as getting ready to jump in after the masses have done it. I don't like crowds, like I get claustrophobic. So I've been thinking about like what professions I have to do, and I'm like, well, how the hell do I even get a wand? I guess I have to do enchanting. Like, but
Yeah.
then I can't sell the enchanting mat, so I'm gonna have to drop that after I make the wands, And so I'm so confused on like what I'm gonna have to do. Did you have professions drop them? You gotta like give us kind
Yeah.
of that
Yeah.
overview.
So for specifically for this like one character, I didn't do professions because I wanted my whole goal was just to level quickly. But I will say that every other time that I've leveled a hardcore character, I spend probably more time on professions than I would on any other character because you can get so much from them that's going to help you in the long run. So like to your point, I think warlocks almost always in hardcore, like across the board, they start with tailoring and they start with enchanting, and they use those two to get their wands and then to make some wizard oil, and then they end up dropping enchanting and I think going skinning, because you end up needing the leather for a lot of tailoring stuff. So that's like super like cookie cutter professions for a warlock as far as I know. But like mining and engineering are two of the best professions in hardcore. Target dummies will save your life. Grenades, the trinkets, there's all kinds of things through engineering that really, really, really add to your toolkit in terms of keeping you alive.
See, I feel like mining or herbalism would kill someone like Mel because they wouldn't be able to let it go. They'd be like, I have to get this. It's in it's in this cave. I'm gonna
I
go
just
in that
die a
cave.
lot, guys. Okay, so like I just don't see how hardcore is in my wheelhouse here.
Yeah, but you die a
Maybe it'll help
lot
with that.
most of the time. Really, most of the time when you die, it's not when we're doing a quest. It's when you're running to turn the quest in because you refuse to take roads. You refuse to take the path of least resistance. You want to go straight to it. And the majority of reason we die is PvP. I mean, I was thinking about it, and like I really don't die much at all unless it's PvP orientated. On
I mean,
this,
I
it'll
die
be
a lot in
PvE.
raid, and that's 100% PvE.
Ooh, okay. That actually
Yeah.
brings me to a point. How does it work? Like, is anybody getting screwed over by accidentally PvP flagging?
Oh yeah, it's happening. That's one of the ways they're griefing people, right? Because there are on Alliance side, there's a few quests. There's like multiple points in the missing diplomat quest, and then there's at least one other quest that flag you that because you end up fighting like an NPC that's associated with a faction or whatever. So they like a few days into SOM, there were horde rogues that got to a high enough level that they even stealthed into Ironforge and hung out like deep inside next to this quest that flags you and
And
you
you
have to fight
want
this
that
mob.
quest because it gives you Abyss Ring until like the 50s.
Yeah. So it has happened. The hardcore community they've been great. They've basically come out and said if you die, if you get flagged from one of these quests and you go out into the world and you get PvP'd on, that's on you. If you do one of these quests and you flag and within moments a high level rogue comes out of nowhere and kills you, that's not going to count against you. Don't worry about it. You can continue your hardcore run. So there's some leeway there that the hardcore community gives you. Obviously, you would lose the Soul of Iron buff, which is the new buff they implemented in Season of Mastery that just tracks whether or not you've ever died. But the hardcore community does really try to facilitate, these like griefing deaths and DC deaths and things like that, and make it so that, hey, if something happens that's completely out of your control, you can still continue with the challenge.
This might be why Mel and I have had an easier time leveling our new characters at TBC since Season of Mastery came out, because I hadn't really even thought about all the people that just enjoy ruining people's days moving over to Season of Mastery to ruin the hardcore challenge for people. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, they're around. I think we've been able to actually report a few of them and had enough evidence of them spending so much time intentionally griefing people that they haven't logged in a while. So something I think is working.
Promising.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's just weird that different like PvE quests would flag you, and like maybe that's something Blizzard just should look into turning off. When I asked the question, I was more thinking like things like where somebody accidentally tabbed to an enemy horde character, an enemy alliance character,
Oh,
and
yeah.
accidentally hit them or something. Like that was what I was thinking.
Yeah. There has been someone lately. There's a horde character who he got the gnomish mind control cap. And what he does is he mind controls a mob you're already fighting. And
Oh,
so then as you continue to fight the mob, it comes under his control and you attacking it flags you. So then he drops the MC and then starts attacking you.
isn't it insane? Like the efforts that people will go to figure out how to just screw people over. Like,
Oh
come
yeah.
on.
There's a lot. There's a lot going on. They're trying really, really hard. The thing that I don't get is that, because again, what I've said, the hardcore community, if you have evidence that someone did something like this to you, you can keep playing. They don't care. If you die to something like that, no, just keep playing. You're fine. So these griefers are going through all this effort, and at the end of the day, it's not actually like ending up with anyone deleting their characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because honestly, you know, I like doing it with the add-on from the hardcore community, and doing it within that is really more prestige than actually having that buff, because that buff, you could be carried by a level 60 all the way up. You could be run through dungeons where you stand at the entrance and never have any fear of anything. So that buff's cool and
It
all,
does
but
put a
it
little
really
asterisk on you,
doesn't.
though.
Yeah,
It's
but
it's pretty. I think you're underselling how important. I think the buff's pretty cool, dude.
Yeah, but
I mean,
there's
community,
nothing to
like-
without going through the hardcore community. There's nothing to prove that you
You're-
didn't buy that buff.
So there's something. So who cares though, right? Because it lasts through 60, so it doesn't matter because even at 60, it's still going to be a buff that lasts forever that you're going to want to keep. So that's I think a big reason. Leveling, sure, maybe the hardcore add-on is cool, but I think like longevity and like as Season of Mastery is ending, you're gonna want that buff there.
Oh yeah.
Sitting
Yeah.
And
there. So it is sad. And the thing that you're neglecting and that I didn't realize was a big community until I started playing on the server is there's a lot of non like hardcore rules Iron Men or hardcore players playing who are not following the strict rules but still care about the buff, right? The only rules that they're playing around is not dying. And there are guilds and communities building around that. So it's sort of like an inter-community buff as well too, where if they're not using the hardcore add-on, they're just like, you're not even doing anything. We don't know anything about you.
I wonder how
Yeah.
many people lose the buff, like, and could continue playing their character, but choose to start a new character because people, like, it's just like the illusion of like, oh, well, you lost the buff. Okay, yeah, I'm sure it was a,
Yeah. It's
legitimate
definitely
claim.
it's definitely happened because I've had people come to me and they say, "Hey, I'm level, 22 and I DC'd and I died. Can I continue?" And I tell them, "Yeah, if you have video proof is the whole thing. Yes, if you have video proof you can." And sometimes they'll say, like I kind of just want to start over cuz I want to have that buff." Right?
Yeah.
And there's like more power to them. Absolutely. I always tell them like that's totally fine. So that buff does mean something. Even within the hardcore community where we excuse certain deaths, there are people that, they value that buff enough to start over.
Does the buff give you anything other than show that you haven't died?
Nope. I think
It
that's
gives
it.
you an emote. Gives you an emote where you turn to stone, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
And there's lots of people speculating that they're going to start doing account-wide achievements for Season of Mastery, and that would be one that you would have on your account for seasons to come. It's a like there's nothing that says that's going to happen. A lot of people are speculating that that's going to happen, and I think it's a pretty good it's a pretty good speculation. So probably
So,
will
Duranasaur, are you
happen.
doing the road to rag? Are
Yes.
Of course he is. He's
Okay.
one of the biggest players.
Yeah, I know.
That's my
But
whole goal.
what? Tell me your thoughts on this. How is this gonna go?
Oh, it's I keep telling people this because people come in and they ask like, how soon are you guys going to be in MC? Like a couple weeks, and I keep telling people it's going to be months. Like we're not even going to step foot in Molten Core
You're-
in my mind until February.
And tell me if I'm wrong, but I've been guessing that you're going to wait till the main players, Cargos, you, Grays for Days, yada, 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 have multiple characters at 60. So you're building up lives to lose throughout that journey once you do it. Is that
I don't
right?
know if Well, yeah, I don't know if we're specifically waiting for like the big players to have alts. I think it's more I think what it really is that we just want enough people to make it to level 60 that we have backups, that we have that strong level 60 just like foundation of, enough people with enough of the professions, with enough materials kind of spread out that if we lose someone key, that we are not just stuck, right? We are able to continue. Like we're able to bring in a different person to come in and help them out.
Actually, can you clarify that for me? Because, okay, so on Duo Challenge, you can share your professions, you can share things, you can trade things. Solo, you cannot. Is there a different rule set once you hit 60 within the Road to Rag Guild?
Yeah, and the important distinction here is that if you're at all familiar with the hardcore challenge, which I know that you guys are, but for anyone maybe that's listening that's heard
Yes,
about it,
thank you.
yeah, from 1 to 60, all of the rules are the same as they were for the past year and a half. It's solo self-found. If you do a solo run, that means you cannot trade anything with any other players. Your professions are on your own. You cannot group in the open world. You can group up for dungeons, but it has to be with other hardcore players within the level range on the meeting stone. You can only do the dungeons one time, but for the most part, it's this solo challenge. Once you hit level 60, the road to rag is something after the fact. It's a separate challenge that is, okay, you've gotten to 60 and you've verified your character, which the verification process with the new add-on is very quick. You're able to just copy a string of data, I guess, from the add-on, upload it to the website, and the website will tell you, yes, you're good to go, or no, there's something going on. And sometimes the something going on is something that you have evidence of, right? Like, oh, you did die. The add-on knows you died, but it was a grief death. So we can manually go through and check that stuff. But the Road to Rag challenge is for those who have gotten to 60, have verified that they followed all the rules in the initial hardcore challenge. And once you're there, you were able to trade with other level 60s who have also been verified. So there's I think 13 of us now in North America. We're starting to trade stuff. We're starting to like build professions up. So like I have a salt shaker now that I got from a different 60 who has engineering. And we've got like an enchanter who's getting rods from another 60 who's a blacksmith. And all of this stuff is just within our tiny group of players right now, because we're still not allowed to use the auction house. We're not even allowed to use the mailbox because there's just no way to really track whether people abuse it or not. So we've just said like all of your trading and stuff has to be in person, which adds like an element to it that some people I think like. I kind of like it because it's like, oh man, this person has something I need. I'm going to travel across the world and we're going to trade, and then I'll have it, and then I can like take it and use it however I need to. But yeah, there's that aspect. And then you're also allowed to run dungeons more than once. So you're able to then go and farm either lower level dungeons, like farm Maradon, farm, BRD, Sunken Temple, stuff that like you would only be able to do one time as you're leveling up. We're able to do those multiple times, and then eventually we'll probably venture into the harder level 60 dungeons, which I'm excited for. I'm a little scared of. I'm trying to really push people to farm. Like, let's farm BRD a lot. Let's farm Maradon a lot. Let's get I keep
Okay.
calling it the pre-bis. So it's like, what's the best item before your pre-bis item?
Yeah, Scholomance is the one that would scare me the most. Like DM, really, like most of that, I'm like half of it I can solo, So like it's like, but man, Scholomance scares me to death for you guys.
Go to DM West, Bob.
Oh,
Oh
man,
yeah,
DM
DM West.
scares
Sorry,
DM East
I
is
forgot about
easy.
DM West.
Yeah.
DM
Yeah,
North
right.
and East are like the ones that I think are easy. West,
yeah.
yeah.
So what about this? So somebody brought up in chat, like, do you have practice runs? And this is interesting to me because I wonder, the people that did Classic Era, did you guys practice MC on Classic Era on non-hardcore players to figure out like what would be the easiest way not to die in these raids?
Yeah. So the only practice that we've had as a group was on the beta when they allowed you to go into MC and try it out. That's the only practice, and a lot of hardcore people came together and they did one raid on the beta. So that's all the practice we have. I'm not sure what the general consensus is going to be on whether or not we practice, because I think that on the one hand, if we don't practice, things are going to go bad.
Real bad.
Real bad. People deleting days and days of gameplay bad. But on the other hand, if we go through the process and we practice it a bunch, that takes away that risk
Mhm.
of death,
Right.
which I think it's such a key part of the whole hardcore thing.
People
Yeah,
are
I
gonna
agree. I
die,
think
though.
that
Oh yeah.
in
well,
the
but
in
at the
new
same time,
MC, new MC's insane. Like if
Yes.
it was old MC,
okay,
I'd
that's
be like,
fair.
people are probably gonna die. Right now, it's like people
Oh
are gonna
yeah.
Yeah,
It'd
I
be
think
insane to see a run all the way through, like insane. But
I,
there's no chance.
I think Blizzard did the Road to Rag a favor by putting all this extra shit in, because like I think Road to Rag would have been a lot easier had they not put all this extra stuff in. So it's almost wonder if you get a raid together that's non-hardcore characters that you died while you worked up and you practice there. I don't see any problem with that.
Yeah.
Dry
And that's sort of where we're
runs.
at. Yeah, because like both of your points, yeah. If it was the, classic vanilla MC experience, then I think the expectation would be, no, you guys, we shouldn't practice, because we've all done that raid a bunch of
Yeah,
times.
you've all done it. Yeah.
Yeah, but now with this new one, I think that if we did decide to practice, people would understand. But I don't know. I think I fall into the camp of like, I don't really think we should practice. I think that we should. It almost needs to be that fresh experience, because that's going to be the highest stakes,
Yeah.
right? And I'm all about like, yeah, let's go in and let's be okay with the fact that people are going to die as we learn this. Let's even be okay with the fact that we might lose so many people that it delays the whole thing, because I am
I
very
think you
much
have to, right? Like if you guys go into Road to Rag and clear it and get there with everybody the first time, like that just minimizes the accomplishment, right? I think you have to go in, you have to play conservatively, and you have to be like, okay, like here's the question.
Okay, well,
Does running
hold
out
on
of
though.
the instance count as dying?
You can run out of the instant.
you can run out. You can
Yeah.
run out. The problem with
So
MC
running's
though is that
encouraged now instead of discouraged for faster.
oh yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, exactly to your point. I think that if we even practiced once, right, we lose credibility.
But hold on, let me add to that. That was what I was going to add a second ago is the speedrunners that run all these different things practice on either private servers or the beta servers a ton before getting their run on day one. So are you throwing some shade at them maybe?
No.
Because I
no,
kind
'cause
of
was
would
there-
like you to, is all I'm
those are
saying.
different.
No. I have like the utmost respect for those guys because what they're doing is like they're like, hey, can we save 6 seconds if we all do
That's a
this
good
one
point.
thing perfectly?
It's a good point.
Speedrunning's
Um,
different
Yeah.
than Iron Man, I feel like.
Well, the active speedrunning requires practice. Is the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not dying is way more play style than anything else, right? Like when I was doing my hardcore, I was just playing differently. I wasn't revolutionizing.
Yeah.
You just play a
Oh
little
yeah.
different.
Well,
You don't
here,
need to go crazy. But I think though with the practice thing, to me, practicing is like just giving yourself an extra life anyway. It's like it would be cool to kill Rag, where instead of hardcore being one life, you have 3 lives. That's still really hard, but why not go all the way to 1 life? You know, if you're gonna challenge yourself or do something, like you want to do the most intense version of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
feel
I
like
keep
Someone
practicing
else
is
will.
cheating.
Yeah, I keep telling people, and I'm trying to instill this thought in like the rest of the hardcore community because I don't know if everyone sees it the same way that I do. I see Season of Mastery as like we have 1 year to push as hard as we can in this like in-game hardcore setting, right? Of us like trying to do raids. And let's say in like 4 months we do clear MC. I'm gonna be I might not be the only one. I don't think I'll be the only one, but I will be one of the voices saying, okay, so now we need to like do that again because we need more gear because BWL's coming out soon, right? Like I
well,
think
if
that
it's 4 months, BWL will be out.
yeah, exactly. So like I want to keep just pushing it, like just take the whole year, right? Like it'd be easy. Well, not easy. It would be kind of strange, I think, to like finish the challenge, 4 months in or whatever it ends up being, and then say, okay, well, I'm either like done with Season of Mastery or I'm going to switch it up and just play softcore. Like
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah,
so
I'm very much going to stay in and try to continue it for the full year, and just for me, have it be like the season of hardcore rating.
So you're saying it would be cool, and actually, I should have thought about this, but I guess I didn't. I just saw Road to Rag as a means to an end, but I guess Road to Nefarian, Road to Cthulhu, Road to Kel'Thuzad. Jesus, I've been playing too much
You
TBC.
almost
But
too much
I
TBC
almost
now.
had it there. But yeah, like that
of
could
course,
be
yeah, people
just
aren't gonna
a
stop.
graduation, which would be
Yeah.
harder and harder each time and really cool.
Yeah. And I don't even know. I mean, we've talked a little bit about, the logistics of, how realistic is it even for us to clear BWL? And there's a lot of people that say, we might be able to get MC, but we're definitely not getting BWL. And I'm just like, let's try. Let's
There's one thing you might like. I don't know how I feel about this, but the Vash, not Vash, see TBC, the second boss,
the
Veil.
veil.
Vale is going to
Vale's
kill
Crest.
1 or 2 people, and like you can, hearth. Like, do you require people to hearth, or do you let that death be a pass because it was kind of a bullshit mechanic that they put in from the beginning with the hardcore challenge in mind? Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
oh, all this work I have to lose because of this one silly mechanic.
Yeah, I think we've just been talking about it as like, yeah, you just have everyone make sure their Hearthstone's off CD. But I hadn't even really thought about just, potentially excusing it. Because they're essentially the same thing, right? To your point, if you have like burning adrenaline and you hearth out and get rid of the debuff, that's essentially you're avoiding the mechanic. So
Yeah,
if you
it's the
died
same
from the
thing.
mechanic, kind of the same thing. Yeah. That could be. Yeah, absolutely. Because to me, it'd be rough to say, whoever gets that buff, like, nope,
Roll of
you're
the dice.
dead. Sorry.
Yeah, you
And
lose
it
the
also,
Soul
Yep.
Iron buff. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
Wiki
true.
points out the iron buff. I'm just saying for the people that might not care about that.
Bob, that's only you,
Yeah.
okay, Bob? I don't know why you keep not caring about this Soul of Iron buff.
Okay, but here's the thing.
it's everything.
Here's the thing, though. Okay, so the hardcore community is like really big right now, right?
Yeah.
And the longer you go, the harder it gets. Like, how do you feel like that's going to affect the momentum that you guys have right now, right? Like, if I were to go in and in MC I were to lose my character, how many times do you think I'm going to work back up to get back into MC to do that? And maybe that doesn't matter. Like, I don't know how much like the presence of the community means to you guys, but like, how do you navigate that, and how do you decide like what rules or like how this works?
It's a
Why are you
big
giving me
Yeah.
such weird
Mel, it's a
face and stuff?
big community. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you realize how big the hardcore
No, I
community
agree,
is.
but
Like,
I'm
they'll
saying
have
where's
plenty
the
of people,
breaking
I
point?
think.
But
Yeah.
that's what I'm
And
saying is where's the breaking point?
I think that's a great question because we've kind of talked about that. Like, how many wipes and full like 40-man losses can we take before we just don't have enough people willing to go through the leveling and gearing and consume farming again? That's a great question because I don't know. But it is like it's I think that we'll be able to keep it going for quite a while. Maybe not at like the pace we are right now. Like it's crazy to me to think that we are like a week and a half into SOM and we have on NA I think 13 or 14 even level 60 hardcore characters. When this challenge started forever ago, when Cargos, was like, "Hey, classic hardcore, here we go." It took
I
months before
remember
one person got it.
I remember the episode he did that on Good Morning Azeroth, and he's trying to sell it to the people on the show, and they're like, I don't know, like, and
Yeah.
it just kept blowing up because of them doing it. It's a really cool
Yeah.
thing.
So
Well,
it's
and I respect you guys. Like, I'm not saying you're a small community. I'm not trying to like, frame it that way. I'm just saying like,
oh, I think you're right
Well,
though.
it's bottleneck. How many people hit 60? How many of those
yeah,
60s want to raid? How many want to raid after they die the first time? It's just a bottle. It just
Yeah.
trickles down.
right.
So it's a legitimate concern,
Oh,
especially
absolutely.
when
Yeah.
some people want to go all the way.
It's a commitment. Like from day one, it's a commitment. Like you're
Yeah.
putting in
And
time.
that's why I keep trying to sell it as like let's do this for a year because I think it's easier to swallow a death if hey, we are, there's people dying right now we haven't had any level 60 deaths, but we've had people die at 59. We've had people die in the high 50s, low 50s, 40s, all the way down. And it's just like, hey, if we're doing this for the full year, you died once a week and a half in, right? Like you have so much time. Don't worry about it. Like if you want to keep playing hardcore, like there's plenty of time. We're going to keep on doing it. It's going to be great. I'll my goal is to be like that person, right? That's like, hey, I'm about to hit 60. Who's
Cheerleader.
still running raids, right? Who's still running dungeons? I'm gonna be like, this guy right here. Let's go. For like the full year. And that hopefully makes it easier. But absolutely to your point, Mel, like I could totally see someone even just losing one character at level 60 and saying, all right, I'm done. See ya. And that's just one person that's no longer playing in the community, at least for, the time being. And
And
that
Right.
will be harder than any raid boss.
and that is what I'm committing to for my hardcore character, but it will depend. If I have a really good time, I might do it. I might do it again. You know what I mean? Like, but I know it's going to be a long process. I want to be an alt, in the raid for the road to rag. Maybe I get pulled up like, you know, like third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, wave. Like, but I'm just going into it like, doing it like, I'm gonna get my feet wet. I'm not like committing to this, but I have one other thing I want to talk about globally, but I haven't committed to it yet. But Yip has, and I want Yip to
Hello.
tell
Yes,
us
I have.
what has happened with his journey on road or on hardcore challenge.
Well, if you listen to last week's podcast, Crix convinced me to make a character finally. I was like, all right. He made it sound cool. So I asked him, and I knew the answer already. I was like, what's the hardest one? If I'm going to do it, let's just do the hardest one, get it out of the way. I'll look like a hero. And if I die, I'll just quit. It's that easy. It's a win-win for me. So of course, solo warrior is what he said to do. So I was like, solo warrior, easy. I know how to play warrior. I can hamster and kite. I know I'm good at warrior. So I started, and it was way more fun than I was expecting it to be. The fact that I had to not dying is tough. I almost died at Fargo Deep Mine with kobolds. The first time I encountered like any scary thing, I'm almost dead. I had to run away. I'm at like 20% health, and I'm just like, oh my god, like I'm gonna die at level 5 like an idiot. I need to pay more attention. So I have to go get my fishing up, make sure I have food. I'm getting my cooking up, so I've got buff food. I go herbalism alchemy, so I've got elixirs on. I'm like taking it, and it's fun because I have to build this character up slowly. Because I've never done a no death and it's a warrior, I want to really take my time. The only issue that I ran into, it's there's too many people playing. It's not hard. You can run into a cave that you would normally die in, and there's just so many other people camping mobs waiting for quest mobs that the threat of death in some of these early zones is gone. In fact, it's hard to do quests actually.
Yeah.
This is
You
why I wanted to start, late.
It's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, like
yeah.
it's I literally can't do quests sometimes. I'm sitting there like there's no mobs and I just
Yeah.
have to log out and play at different times. That's the biggest issue I have run into. Um so I hit 15 and I'm doing the pillager quest, the Westfall pillagers. Kind of hard. I need to find a area where I'm only going to pull one or two. But there's so many people that the Defias town, what is it? Moonbrook.
Yeah.
There's just too many people there. I can't get any tags. I'm literally sitting here for 2 hours and I think I'm 8 of 10 on both looters and pillagers.
And you have the
And
worst tagging class in history.
yeah, it's so hard to get a tag, and I'm just real struggling, and I just want to get this quest done. I get an upgrade to my weapon once I finish the series, so I was like, I'll go up to the cave, on the west side of Westfall, head up there, and I was like, there's so many people here. This is insane. Run all the way back to the end, and I guess I guess everyone left, and suddenly I'm the only person in this
No.
cave. And I die. I die because I was bored, though. I died because I was bored. I would never go to that cave normally, but because there were so many people elsewhere, I felt like I can't progress my character.
Yeah.
And that's how my warrior died. And I was like, okay, I made the decision. One death and I'm done. So now I'm doing a duo and I'm gonna keep playing. I can't stop. I'm gonna hit 60 now. It was too fun. I'm a priest now. I'm a level 10 priest. I'm playing with a level 10 rogue, obviously, and it was fun. It was actually a really, really enjoyable way to play the game. I think the buff sells it for me. Having that buff and everyone can see is really nice. And then seeing everyone's deaths is pretty intense. Seeing I don't know what the range is. I don't know. Is it zone wide that you see the death of somebody, or is it just like around
You
you
mean
when someone
through
dies?
the
mean the
add-on.
emote?
The emote, yeah.
It's pretty far because I've seen it a
Yeah.
few times and looked around and I'm like, I don't see anyone near me.
Yeah,
So it's got to be pretty far.
Yeah, I assumed it was like zone wide, but you're just out there killing. And I don't mean the add-on, Bob. I'm talking about the Heart of Iron. When someone dies with the Heart of Iron, there's an emote that says like someone's soul's been tarnished, and
Yeah.
everyone knows when you die. I logged out immediately when I died. I was like, I'm not looking at anyone saying F to me. I'm so upset with myself.
Do people send you tells with Fs?
I don't know because I exited game as soon as I died. So that was what I did there. But yeah, I mean it's really fun. You get to see where people die because their little soul stays on the ground. So every time you roll up to a Murloc camp, there's a couple of souls on the ground, and you're like, "Yep,
Yeah.
I've died here before." It's been fun. I really wanted to get into like the real game, so I was pretty bummed I died at 15. I wasn't expecting to die at 15, and it really was just my own fault and like not wanting to take my time.
Now I feel
Because I
like I
wanted to
just need
see
to
like
make a
the
hardcore
30s.
character and get to 16 just so I can,
Yeah.
vote on the podcast.
Do
I mean,
it.
it's just I want to get to like the 30s and 40s where you're kind of like in the thick of things, where you're not the levels aren't coming as quickly, but
You have more
I'll be there.
tools.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
more tools, and I don't know if I'll do warrior again. I feel like I was kind of I don't know. What if people do we need do we need warriors? That's a bigger question. What do people need if people are going to start characters? Does it not matter at this point? We just need 60s.
Yeah, it's so tough to know right now. There's actually a really good class distribution at 60 right now. So I would say, and I from the beginning, I think we've all said like play what you're most comfortable in, because you playing something that we need and not getting to 60 means nothing
Yeah,
versus you playing like another hunter, another rogue and getting to 60, right?
Right.
So
that's
yeah.
sort of why I gave in to the duo temptation. I was like, I kind of want to like make sure I do better. I want to
Yeah.
actually
Listen,
get a little further.
I think Bob and I are gonna do a duo, and I think I'll be a priest because I know how to play a priest really well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Play what you
priest is
know.
very good
Absolutely.
level.
The hardest class in hardcore is the one you know the least about.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yep, yep. So,
I mean,
the
maybe I should play a hunter because
I know
Fade
a lot
Death
about
never
warrior.
resists.
I
You
still
know.
died.
Well, you didn't die to the warrior class though.
That's well, yeah, that's
Well,
true. If
Yeah.
I was my mage, maybe I think I'll start a solo mage
I
because
hate
I'm very
mages.
good at mage,
Yeah.
and
Are you?
I want to play more. I was almost a mage this whole time. And at the end
Mages
of
are
phase one
horrible.
in classic, I almost switched to mage.
well,
I
I
was
mean,
like, mage is so sick.
and
You just
mage could
throw
just
crossbows out.
mage could just get away. Like once a
Listen, that's a
warrior is
it's
like
so selfish
stuck.
to solo a mage because you get water and food. Like you need to duo a mage, you jerk.
That's a good point, actually. That's funny. I'm already duoing though, and I the problem is like it's kind of hard to. You have to be logged in at the same time. I think the
Yeah.
hardest rule set is that you can't do professions when you're not both logged in.
Yeah.
That would change everything. If you could like log in, get all your professions up solo, and then just go level together. That's a little simpler. But the fact that you have to be like, okay, should we go do these professions, or should we take some time to do this? You have to be in the
Wait,
same
you
zone.
guys,
I think like
if
it's interesting.
Bob and I do a level, you need to monitor him that he doesn't just log in my character on my computer and then go profession hunting over on his computer. Like that's not fair.
I agree. Monitor Bob. Bob will cheat. He doesn't even care about the buff. Did you hear him?
Well, any hardcore that we do will be streamed. But the last thing I wanted to kind of bring up, it's kind of interesting to me because, and tell me if I'm wrong. This is just what I think, but I think Cargos a year and a half ago saved Season of Mastery, and the reason I say that is because the biggest server is the Road to Rag server, hardcore, and it seems like even on other servers, people are doing the hardcore stuff. And Blizzard, maybe they would have never put that little buff in.
Oh, they never would have if it
And
wasn't for hardcore, for
we're
sure.
not seeing a ton of rating, although you level so much faster. And we saw Rag die in week 1 of original Classic. So my question to you is, did Hardcore Challenge actually make Season of Mastery?
I think it's a substantial part of it. Absolutely. I think that yeah, without it, I don't even know if I'd be playing, right? And I think that I've heard of people that are playing, like I know Jam Gabar is a pretty popular server. There's a lot of PvPers that are
Yeah.
there that are just like diehard, vanilla WoW fans. But I think that even the Soul of Iron buff was enough of an interest to get people back. And yeah, exactly. I don't think they ever would have put that in the game had it not been for
I think
what happened
that's
with
true.
all the hardcore community stuff. So it'd be tough to say like, yes, we the hardcore community has made Season of Mastery what it is. It wouldn't exist without it. But I think it's easy to see direct links to how the amount of players participating and the interest in it and the excitement around it has been directly affected by the hardcore community.
I mean, honestly, I was in the camp of it's way too soon. Why would I want to go back and do the same content that I just finished being
Mm-hmm.
annoyed with doing, right? The only thing that interests me is this hardcore challenge, right?
Yep.
And it's like, oh, okay. Well, I could maybe go back and do that. That'd be something fun and interesting,
Well, I
right?
did want to ask you guys, because I know you guys weren't big fans of world buffs in original classic, right? But you guys were still rating at like a pretty high level, like you guys were full clearing all the content. So I was actually before like checking in and hearing what you guys are up to, like I thought maybe you guys were that target demographic of people that would enjoy Season of Mastery, that would like the no world buffs and also like the content to be a little buffed and stuff.
It's just too
TBC
soon.
fulfills that desire. Like TBC is
Yeah.
classic plus. It's
Yeah.
hey, here's some classic rating where the classes are a little more balanced, where you don't have to bring in world buffs. You can raid log pretty easy. So I think that with more time,
In
it helps.
PvP.
But it's also scratching my the PvP is also scratching my itch, but the rating is scratching my itch too, where it's like why I think the raid boss changes are really cool. I would love to do a non-hardcore raiding guild to go through these changes to Molten Core, but it's just why it took our guild almost like 2 months to
Yeah.
finish the current tier in TBC, which is we're still like ahead of the curve of a lot of guilds. So that rating is providing a challenge enough already that this came out so soon. If this had come out in Zul'Aman, maybe we're
Yeah.
talking about a lull that we can do.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
That's
what
my
we're
that's
talking
my
about.
perspective.
Is that it was like so soon, and it was at a peak of like people still trying to progress through TBC, right? So, but I do think it captured those people that didn't want to do TBC, that like were bored with TBC, that weren't interested in that. And I think it's two different markets. And I think that's where we have to go with is like, there's going to be some crossover of people that like TBC and also like to do this um, season of mastery. But I also think that there's something to be said that they started now and then a year later, there's another one, and you get more people who are bored with TBC then. And then a year later, they start another one, you get more people who are bored with whatever's going on. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a good plan because you capture those people who hated TBC and wanted classic. So you get those people in right now. And then in a year, you get the other people in that are bored with whatever content's out then. And I think that that's good business.
And for
Like,
me, basically, I did almost all the content in Vanilla WoW. I did everything on the cutting edge until Nax, where our guild like fell apart. We only got 4 bosses in. So I had already done that, and like my coming back to Classic was like, hey, I want to dot every I and cross every T. And I pretty much did for a warrior. I mean, I guess I could start a new class and get everything that I want, but on the warrior, I literally got everything except weapons off of KT. And I mean, I
This guy
got
won't let that go.
I got it all. Like, and so it was just a little too soon for me to want that experience. That's why the hardcore sounds fun to me, is because it's something completely different from what I did. And that's why in Classic I came back as a warrior, because it was something completely different from the rogue that I did in original vanilla. And so I think it was just too soon without world buffs and stuff. And honestly, like now all I think about without world buffs is, oh, I'm gonna have to run Molten Core for the entire time, and it's just longer. Like,
Mhm.
right.
it'd be awesome to run through it those first few times and see all the new changes, but then the fact that I have to keep running that raid throughout the entirety of the expansion is kind of a bummer to me in that sense. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
I
Yeah.
have I for journalistic integrity, I feel like I should bring this up as something that I noticed playing hardcore. I think that I don't know how you address this, but the gameplay style of hardcore is a little bit toxic. Um, so I noticed that for non-hardcore players, it's really not fun playing on the hardcore server. You
Oh yeah.
have you have a ton of people who won't group up with you, who will who will steal your mob tags because it's convenient for them to not die, right? They want to try to steal, like they're incentivized to steal your mob tags to get quests done. They want you to help them kill stuff. Like there are a lot of people playing in a way and they can't group with you, so they won't trade you, they won't group with you, but they'll steal your mob tags. And like it's a little bit crazy if you're a softcore player playing on a hardcore server. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
thought about that, if you saw that as you were leveling, but in this wave, there was a lot of like pretty toxic general chat and stuff going on in the early starter zones.
Yeah, and that's why we ended up on Obsidian Edge, and that's why we were advocating, because we have like a WoW developer in like this like Discord with a lot of the hardcore like mods and stuff. We were very much advocating like, yo, just like, you don't even have to like implement anything else to the game. Don't change anything about the game. Just give us a server and just like call it the hardcore server, whatever it is. And it didn't happen. So that's why we chose Obsidian Edge, because at the time Obsidian Edge was the lowest pop PvE server, or the lower. There's only two options, right? There's the East Coast one and the West Coast one. So we picked the lowest pop PvE server that we could, because we knew this was going to be an issue. And
Right.
I do feel bad. Because I have people whisper me and ask me like, yo, can you come help me with this? I've had like multiple warriors actually whisper me and say like, yo, could you come help me with the Cyclonian quest? Because I'm just like trying to get my whirlwind axe done, and I have to tell them like, I'm sorry, I can't. Like, I'm not allowed to group with people because I'm doing this hardcore challenge. And they, like, to their credit, they respond and they're like, oh, thanks for letting me know. No problem. But it is a problem, right? And there's been a lot, even within the community, people are like, it's silly that we're not allowed to group for like named quest mobs and stuff like that. And we get that, but
It's just like it's something that opens this like floodgate, right?
yeah,
It's like you
yeah,
give an inch and they take a mile, and you just have to be careful. But I will say, I think the addition of the add-on that tracks all of this was a huge selling point to me for
yeah.
the hardcore challenge, because before I think it was like you had to stream,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't stream. And so now it's like, oh, okay, I can still do this without streaming and doing everything else.
Yeah.
Even though Bob might stream. But I don't
Yeah.
want you guys to see like my horrible gameplay, you know?
Or how she
Yeah.
Even if I
yells at me
survive.
constantly when I'm, Mel, heal me. She's like, I'm not healing you. Leave me alone. I'm getting an herb.
It's my favorite thing about being a hunter is I, one, don't have to buff Bob, and two, I don't have to heal Bob.
Yep. And then she
Yeah.
waits till my vanish is up, and then she feigns death when we're fighting 4 mobs, and she thinks it's the funniest thing ever.
It is funny.
All right.
But yeah,
Well,
that was my only major problem I wanted to point out, though. But
Oh,
I
and I
think,
think
and
you're
people are
right.
talking in the chat, like I think it is definitely the case. And someone said most of the toxicity is coming from non-hardcore people. Which, if you're talking about the like verbal harassment, I would probably agree that I see a lot more people being like "f hardcore players," blah blah blah. But I think that the gameplay of
Yeah.
hardcore is toxic to non-hardcore players, and I think that's where
Yeah.
their frustration's coming in, and then hardcore frustration's coming in because all these random people are like, "I hate you, hardcore."
Yeah.
But
And
yeah, I
it's
think a server makes sense. A server is probably the easiest solution. Even not limiting it, just saying this is the hardcore server.
yeah,
I think
exactly.
that alone is enough.
I know for a
And they
fact it would have made Cargos's headaches go away from that. Remember that first night when they said we're going East Coast and the Discord blew up, and I just like I wanted to just strangle these people like that were just. I was like, dude, you know how much
Yeah.
work they put into this? Shut up! Like it drove
Yeah.
me nuts watching that unfold.
Yeah. He spent so long in like, because there's a public Road to Rag Discord. I think it's got like over 10,000 people in it, and he just hung out in like
17,000 people.
17,000.
Wiki
He
said
just
it in
hung
chat
out.
earlier.
Yeah. He just hung out in there, just like answering people's questions and like being polite as people were just like, this is the dumbest choice anyone's ever made. And he's just like, I appreciate your feedback. And it's just like he was just eating all these comments, which like he didn't have to do. But he's like, he takes ownership for the community. So mad props to him.
I loved your copy pasta that you put in. They were like, is this sarcasm? I was like, yes, it's sarcasm. You're supposed to copy and repost it.
Yeah. I was kind of having fun with it because some of the things people were saying was just it was outrageous. But yeah, it does suck. Even when we were on like Bloodsail Buccaneers and Classic, we ran into the same thing, right? Where someone wants to group you, like get to a mob, like a named mob, and there's like you and someone who's not hardcore, and they're just like they send you a tell and they're like, yo, you want to group for this? And you're just like, I can't. And so then it's like, okay, do we just like fight over this, or do I just let them have it because I'm the one inconveniencing this whole process?
And I just want to say, guys, it's an MMO, yes, but just like in real life, We have no obligation to group with you at all. If we don't want to talk to you, we don't have to. That's our prerogative. Deal with it. Like, there's so many people in the game, because we've been leveling up in TBC. They just walk up and say invite, not hey, can I please join your group? They just say invite, and like lots of times I'll do it, but it's still kind of a rude interaction. Like, we've been waiting here. We're about to kill the thing that we've been waiting on. Why don't you use the word please? It's common courtesy. Can I
Bring
please
it
join
back.
you guys?
Yeah, bring it back, Bob. Get it? Because like, yeah, I think that's the problem with retail is that like they've taken away the need to
Exactly.
communicate. So now it's just like, oh, if I just type out INV, they'll just invite me and we'll get this thing done. But in reality, it's like, hey, if we actually communicate with each other politely,
Yeah,
then
I
things
don't
are going to go
need.
well.
Yeah, I don't need you to do this quest. I'm doing
Okay,
you a
but on
favor
that
by
note,
inviting you. You know what I mean?
controversially here, this might not be my opinion, but on that note, doesn't hardcore take away the community aspect of World of Warcraft that we've grown to love and know on being in a group? Now, I say that knowing that you guys have a huge community and a huge like group, but in the game, you're not
From
that.
the day-to-day
Oh,
to
true.
60, yeah, it
Yeah.
does. Like, it does take away from those group quests and things like
Yeah.
that.
I think that what we lose from grouping like within the game, I think is gained from this like shared experience that are very active in guild chat, people are very active in the Discord. Um and you get to know, like, I've gotten to know people not just because of like the streaming aspect of it and stuff, but just from like seeing them, like seeing their death clips, right? And you see them die at like, in the 30s, and you see them die in like a unique way, and then you might see them later in game like starting a new character, and you're just like, hey, and you have this like just this, yeah, the shared experience of death, of heartbreak, but also of playing this very unique gameplay style, and understanding like what's scary, what's not scary, and I think it, as much as it does like divide us and that it's a solo challenge, there's so many people coming together to like just talk about the experience that they're having and enjoy hearing about other people's experience.
But it's coming
Yep.
together outside of the game,
Hmm.
right? Like you guys are coming together on Discord, right? And you guys could come together on Discord in any game. You could come together on Discord in retail WoW, right? Where
Hmm.
you could do something similar in that aspect, right? And I guess my question is like my biggest pull to Classic is the fact that it requires community. And taking that community to a separate platform and not allowing it in the game, how do you think that's going to affect long term?
You just gotta hit 60, Mel.
Well, real quick, Mel, you
Okay.
say the community is the biggest part. So does that mean you're going to Gruul tonight to help all our guildies, do Gruul?
No, I love my community, but I have one, and that outshines community.
All right. So,
Uh,
okay, sorry, you want to say something else?
I was just gonna say, like, I mean, we are still like in the guilds together, and things like that. But yeah, you are right in that there's that lack of grouping for things more regularly, even like because we do allow dungeons, but yeah, there's tons of other reasons that you would group with players in game. And I do think the Road to Rag challenge is, it's almost also a celebration of all the people that we've grown and met along the way, and this idea that like, oh man, we will finally get to do a larger scale thing together in the game. So
Yeah.
yeah, to your, absolutely, I think that was something that wasn't really there in the past, and having that added in, I think, has brought even more people
Well,
together and gotten them excited about it.
Yeah, and I think you guys have like balanced the grouping by building those connections with the community, which again, we say like this season of Mastery wouldn't have been as successful without you guys, without that community, right? And you guys have built that community based on this. And it's the only thing that's like enticing me to come back. So I'm not trying to say like you guys are doing something bad. I was just trying to be devil's advocate
well,
here.
Well, yeah,
here,
and they're
Mel.
growing pains. They're growing pains as well too. Like I've seen all this play out in in old school RuneScape already, where YouTubers were were bored and they started playing a mode where they couldn't trade people and solo played, and then it got implemented into the game and immortalized, and it became a super popular way to play, and then that's what everyone's playing, and now they just came out with group Iron Man, and this is like it has helped that game a lot, but there definitely are growing pains, like the toxics today I bring up, the how the community handles, like, are we in guild, are we out on Discord, but I think those are all like easy growing pains. We just need Blizzard. I think Blizzard should go all the way, though. RuneScape did it. I really think that Blizzard should go all the way with a hardcore mode and not just have a buff. I think that is like the clear route to success.
I think
And then
they're
they need to
leaning in that
immortalize
direction.
Cargos in the game, because that's what they did for the people who invented Iron Man mode. So
Yep. Well, okay, so yeah, Mel, I'll give you this. I've been talking to Cargos about having a huge like 8-man podcast where it's like a good morning Azeroth Warcraft reloaded like powwow, kind of like we did in our Overwatch days where we had like 8 or 10 people on one Discord call. So maybe we'll get that, and you can try and talk to Cargos about maybe laxing the rules to be like, hey, they have to be within 2 levels of you to group for a named quest,
I
yada
don't
yada
even want to
yada.
lax the rules. Like, I love the rules. I just like was bringing it up as like a potential
no,
like
it's
we
worth
talked
talking about.
about
Definitely worth talking about. I bet Cargos would love to hear it because this is something that's growing. This is something that's changing. Like they changed the way it worked at level 60. So that's something that maybe you could, pull his
Yeah, I
ear
mean, you
over.
go with okay.
All
I
right,
don't
but
know if I want to do that, but
we
yeah.
do need to move on though. So we're going to move into the news. So this week in the news, there's not really a lot, but we do the news, so we have to do it every week. If anybody wants to chime in, go ahead and jump in, but I'm going to try to kind of push through this because I really want to talk about the interview with Blizzard. So pipe up if you want to talk about something that I go over, but feel free not to as well. All right, so this is just interesting. WoW had put an article up about it, so I wanted to, just talk about it for just a second. But an all melee, no ranged clear happened of Tempest Keep and Serpentshrine Cavern. The things that I thought were the funniest things ever was Alar and Kel'Thas were the hardest fights. Alar was a 7-minute, 48-second fight, which makes sense because all the melee just have to run to where he goes to. And then the Kel'Thas fight was 17 minutes and 30 seconds with 9 deaths. So does anybody have anything they want to say about this? I just can't believe they
Yeah.
actually did it.
I'm not that impressed. Melee cleave speed run guilds already exist. So we know melee is good. Tell me when a guild does it with no healers and they're all melee. 25 people and they're all melee, but they're bringing like 6 healers. Come on, bring it all melee, and then I'll be impressed. That's how I feel about that. I feel like this is, I mean, if you look at the logs, it's such a gimped. I love melee cleave. I think that's a really cool and valid way to play the game. I don't know if this is. It's funny.
Yeah, well,
but,
I mean, this is kind of
it's
like
not good.
this is kind of the equivalent to in Classic when 40 Paladins did it or 40 Druids did it.
Yeah.
Like
Yep,
it's kind of
exactly.
it's just an achievement that's kind of weird. So
it's funny and cool. Congrats to them.
yeah, I just
So
wanted
wait,
to bring it up.
Duranasaur, do you play Classic TBC at all?
No, he quit
I
early on.
haven't. Yeah. I do
Okay,
follow
sorry.
my former
Am I
guild
supposed to
though.
know that?
Oh no, you're fine.
Well, if you were friends with him like me, you would know.
I live vicariously through others with TBC right now. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the last bit of TBC news, because like this, last couple of weeks has all been Season of Mastery, and makes sense. But the last bit, they're bringing another TBC tournament in. It's the GCDtv Winter Brawl, and it's a combined prize pool across EU and NA for $10,000. It's a little low. We're not saying it's
more
not
than
low.
their last one.
No, their last one I think was more, wasn't it? The one where we
Yeah,
had
isn't this
last one was
Blizzard
like
employees on the show.
$3,000.
No. That was so. That was so. We're talking about total prize pool of 10K, which I believe is lower. This is
Yeah.
not 10K for first place.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
think it was higher. I should have looked up the numbers.
Yeah, it's our
when I
guild
did it.
subscriptions. They took one guild subscriptions and they're putting it towards some esports.
Yep. We will have the sign up sheets for both North America and Europe in the show notes if anybody wants to check that out. But I wish you guys would really do this because I'd like to see more of this, but you're gonna have to like tune in when it happens to make more of this happen. So the lower prize pool is because less people tuned in at the beginning, and so we'll put all the information for you. Hopefully you guys tune in. All right, so the next thing is the WoW Classic Season of Mastery Hotfixes. There is not a whole bunch of interesting ones. Is there any ones? I'm going to put them in the show notes for anybody that wants to look, because maybe this is the only place they get their news. But like, is there any of them you actually wanted to talk about? Because there's none. I thought Yip would have one he wanted to talk about.
Which one did you think I'd want to talk about?
The one that's the least important. Because you're always talking about color schemes and the way your character looks, and
Listen, it's Season of Mastery changes. What do you want from me?
I just figured several helmets, such as the Expert Gold Miner's helmet and the Netherwind Crown, will once again properly display.
What? I don't know what they look like before. I don't. Although that does remind me that the Expert Gold Miner's helm is that the one that I'm thinking of? That's the rare spawn one with weapon skill on it.
It's
with
the axe skill.
Yeah, axe skill. Oh, that's got to be good in Season of Mastery.
Probably.
Axe skill, okay, but everyone's on Alliance. Are people going to be killing? Oh, and Nixie is going to be really hard, actually. Never mind.
In hardcore, yeah.
I was thinking that I was like in normal Classic, I had 2 Deathbringers on Alliance, and it felt really bad. But it's going to be a little harder to get those this time.
Okay, can we talk about this though real fast? Duranasaur, you're a horde like enthusiast. Yeah. And now you're Alliance and you love it. And it's
Well.
the best thing that you've ever done, right?
It's fine. I've played on both factions.
No.
Come on. I'm happy to be on Alliance. I'm happy to join you all on Alliance. For the Alliance, let's go. We'll get it done.
Do you have dialogues on? You need to have dialogues on.
Yeah, I have dialogues on.
What can
Wash
I
your back.
do for you?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so then
I'm just saying you need to like promote other people being Alliance, on Whitemane specifically.
Yeah, specifically in
For
TBC. All right, so then just a congrats to is it Zarant achieves the very first level 60 in Season of Mastery. Not hardcore, right?
Yeah, so this is an interesting little tidbit. So Zarant was the first 60 in all of Season of Mastery. He did die. He like utilized death skips and all this stuff. The second 60 was a mage, and I'm blanking on his name. And then Tommysalami and Tactics were the first hardcore players. And the interesting thing about these 4 people is that Tommysalami, Tactics, and Zarant all wrote the Rested XP guide. And the 4th guy, the mage, who is the second 60, is their PR person for Rested XP.
So what you're saying is they left key things out of the Rested XP guide.
I mean, I think there's details that they are aware of that they knew. Like, average player doesn't need to know this. Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
It's those guys. Because I was playing with Tommy and Tactics, we would like get together and do dungeons because we were all in the same level range, and they were tracking Zarant and they were tracking their other buddy, the PR guy, and they're like, "Man, we're really like showing up for this. Like we're doing pretty well," and it makes sense. They're all very talented players with a ton of speed leveling experience. But I thought that was pretty funny that like, oh man, they just like they cleaned the floor with everything.
Really quick though, speaking of dungeons, do you think it's worthwhile doing dungeons? I was kind of afraid. Like, I guess like people doing dead mines and stuff. I don't know if I want to be involved in that.
Yeah, I think in a hardcore scenario, on Season of Mastery, I think it is for sure. Even if you're pugging it, just like I keep telling people, like just be at or above the final boss's level. And if most of the people in the party are around there, you're gonna breeze through. It's gonna be fine. Don't worry. All the quests are double experience.
Yeah.
All elite and dungeon quests are double experience. So just if you go through the process of getting all of the Dead Mines quests in your normal routing, and then you are able to run a full Dead Mines, you're gonna be uh, just living the high life. You're going to be the next zone you enter, everything's going to be green. You're just going to feel great, especially on a warrior. I think so. You could potentially also get gear. I know of other hardcore people that swear that like dungeons are too risky. You're just like putting your life in other players' hands. It's not worth it. But I think at the end of the
Okay,
day, it's a good idea.
but what about like you guys have like a huge pool right now? In 3 months, do you think you'll have the same pool to get because you have to only
Did
group
we
with
already
hardcore
think about?
players,
Didn't we
right?
already talk about this?
Well,
Though?
no, she means for
No, for
leveling
Oh, for
dungeons.
dungeons. I
leveling.
think for
Gotcha.
leveling dungeons, probably.
I think
Yeah,
Everyone's gonna
so
be
because
it's
dying.
gonna be tough.
because like again to Yip's point from earlier about like the zones being so crowded, I think those low level zones are so crowded because so many people are dying and starting
Oh,
over
that's
and
fair.
dying and starting over, and like that like I guess the average hardcore level will eventually sort of like move up, right? Like
Right.
eventually there
So
will
don't
be
wait too
more
long.
people. Well, yeah, don't wait too long, but also there's always low people because
Yeah,
people are either dying or they're just like starting a different hardcore character. So
yeah,
even on classic era, like leading up to SOM, it was like up until about like Oldemon ZF, so like mid 40s, it was pretty easy to find dungeon groups. You might have to like, get on the Discord and say like, hey, I want to do SM tomorrow during this time, but you would pretty
right.
easily find other people.
Okay. Well,
Cool.
yep. Well, you covered the next bit of news. It was Tommysalami and Tactics got the first hardcore level to 60. So I want to get this in because I'm excited about this next part. So let's move into discussion. All right, so this week's discussion, I mentioned it on last week's podcast. I mentioned Josh Corbett's interview with Brian Birmingham, and it definitely made my Friday, but we had such a big episode with a new guest on with Crix. We had to interview. We always interview new guests. There's no way I'm ever going to bring in a new guest on and not do the Your Background and WoW interview because I think it's really neat. So I pushed it to this week. So I kind of wanted to talk about some of the points. And for anybody who hasn't heard the interview, the YouTube version will be linked in the show notes. So you can check that out. But yeah, he got to talk to him about a few different things. And the first one was he had a question about, are you concerned if there's too many options for WoW? And the way Brian talked about it is he was like, we were concerned, and that's why we held off character transfers on small servers because of the concern of how much Season of Mastery would cannibalize TBC Classic. And it turned out, according to their numbers and according to Brian, that it didn't. And if you look at Ironforge.pro, that's accurate too, because TBC Classic is a raid logging game. If you don't have alts or you don't PvP, you can raid log and do the highest stuff every week. And so it didn't actually cannibalize it. But my question to you guys is, when does it actually start to cannibalize if they keep going on these routes?
Okay. Here's the thing: is that if we didn't have a wonderful guild bank savant, then I would probably say this answer differently, right? But
Oh, good point. Good point. Because we don't have to farm for our
yeah, because
consumables
I don't have
basically
to
every
farm.
week. Other
So
people
like,
might have to. I got you. I
so
got you.
now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna build up a new character, right? And I'm gonna give Kim all of my mats, and I'm gonna get money. But what do I need money for right now? Because I'm raid logging for the most part. So I don't know.
Yeah. I'm curious to know, and I think I heard Melderon talk about this on either, it might have been on here, it might have been on GMA. But like once let's say end of season of mastery, do they even consider doing a TBC? Or like
So
when this version of TBC ends, do they do a season of mastery TBC?
Yep,
got
swagging
a
the
good answer for
finger.
this. The answer is no. I think we're already playing the season of mastery for TBC because we're playing the pre-nerfed raids, which I think that's like the season of mastery for is really crazy. They added way too much overall. It's like all these bosses are way different. They're like really hard. But I think in the initial release of classic, I think they realized that should have been harder. So if there's like we're like in a middle ground for TBC. It's hard. Half the guilds still are at like 8 of 10. They have not cleared this tier of content, and it's been out for like almost 3 months now. So that's pretty intense. I don't know if they need to make it harder, or if anyone really wants it harder. I know that there was the private server endless that had a lot of like increases in difficulty, but I think that's sort of like a private server thing. Right now, most people who are playing the game, and someone in the comments is saying hard LOL, but when half the guilds haven't cleared the content compared to Molten Core where a guild of 58s cleared the content, I think that there's a big
Yeah,
difference
we're
in difficulty.
we're not
Season of
comparing it
Mastery,
to
yeah.
retail mythic rating. We're comparing it to
Season
the
of
players that
Mastery
are in here that are playing the game, and half of them haven't gotten past 8 of 10.
Yeah, I think Season of Mastery stems from the fact that rating was just so absurd and in Vanilla
Yeah.
Classic, you have with world buffs, content was literally a joke. And I think that's where the Season of Mastery is stemming from. But for TBC, I don't think there'll be a Season of Mastery. Will there be another season of TBC? That might, or maybe they'll do some changes
They might
to some of the
call it,
easier bosses or something. But yeah, and they might call it Season of
yeah,
Mastery, but
but
they
it's
won't
not
do
the
the
same
same.
thing.
I don't think they'll do a
Right.
thing where they overhaul all the bosses or anything like that.
I think, yeah. So that's where I think that's where it is potentially going to get the muddiest, right? I think that because how long is left in TBC? Is TBC going to be running? Is this iteration of TBC you think still going to be going at the end of Season of Mastery? Is there
I
that
think
much
they
more
end
somewhere?
around the same time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Maybe
if we look at it, the thing about TBC and Wrath moving on is you can kind of look at it in the sense that they have to go around arena seasons.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of it. I mean, they could do it, but it would be kind of foobar if they're like, oh, season 1 was 3.5 months, season 2 is 4.5 months, season 3 is 2.5 months. You see what I'm saying? Like they kind of
Yeah.
have to keep it like in line with that to make it actually worthwhile for the PvPers.
Yeah.
And the PvPers are quite a big, like if you look at ironforge.pro, it's a pretty big population, even if it's just the PvPers like us that don't strive for the top levels, that just have a good time in it, you know? So
So I think we're within like the next year, then we're going to end up in this situation where they do whatever season is after Season of Mastery. They're still going to have Classic Era, where you can play either your characters from original Classic Vanilla or Season of Mastery, because I think they're all going to go to that Classic Era server. So that's two vanilla servers.
That's what they've said is going to happen now.
Yeah. And then you're going to have, I assume they're going to do like a TBC era, where if you want to keep playing TBC on your TBC characters, you can always log in and play TBC era. I assume.
So
I don't know.
We should
Maybe.
just change the word era to trash can. So you have classic trash can, you have TBC trash can. It's where you guys go to die.
Yeah.
Because unless they do anything else, like that's where you're going, right?
here's my
Kinda,
opinion.
yeah.
My opinion on this is there should be no eras after vanilla. I think that it's crazy to like immortalize your character wearing like whatever Sunwell nonsense you're wearing. If you've got Warglaves, whatever. Transmog's gonna come out in like Kata or something. Go keep playing and transmog some
Yeah.
stuff later or something. I don't care.
Wait, Transmog was
But
Kata? No. It had to be Mob.
yeah,
No.
no, it was Kata. Don't want to
Waiting
talk about
Kata?
this with you. I don't know. The mount with a transmog on it comes out in MOP, so transmog comes out before then.
Yeah, I'll just put this
but
up there. If Transmog ever comes out in my game, I'm out. I'm
okay,
out of that game. But sorry, go
okay.
ahead.
I don't even know what my point is anymore. There shouldn't be any eras for anything other than
Yeah.
vanilla. Vanilla has a
That's sort of
special
what I
place
was-
in many people's hearts. If they do it, I think they're shooting themselves in the foot by making too many options for people to play in. I
But
think
there's
like
a lot of people that like TBC way more than
right, so they should redo a
Classic.
season. There's no reason to have you're gonna infinitely do Sunwell. Like
Oh,
no
no,
one
no.
is no
Well,
one's
Era,
gonna
okay,
do
but-
that.
no.
Okay, so
Okay,
the
seasons,
one
though.
argument
I'm talking
I
about
would
era.
have for Era, for TBC, and for Wrath is PvP. Like, you might have people that want to just be BIS PvP forever and just jump in and do arena games. Now, I know that probably is a small portion of people, but there might be
Yeah.
people for that. Whereas Classic Era, I think, has nothing.
And what? There's no seasons anymore. Like, who cares? I don't
But
care.
they could do
That's
both,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I just think
And
that
that's
seems
where-
insane.
That's where it gets super muddy, in my opinion. And I kind of agree with Yip on this. Like, if they do that, then I assume they would that would like imply that they would do that even with a Wrath server. So it's we could be down the line somewhere where there's, a fresh season of vanilla, classic or vanilla era, a fresh season of TBC, a TBC era, a fresh Wrath, and a Wrath era. That's 6 servers
Well, and
across the classic thing.
to be fair,
But you're just
I
competing
agree
against
with
each other.
Yip too. I just had to throw out a devil's advocate with the
Yeah, I'm not
PvP
saying
talk.
I'm not
is all.
saying nobody. I'm not saying nobody would be interested on the surface level, but I think we saw how just about nobody was interested in classic era, and vanilla is the most like nostalgia driven time. If you people don't want to have their museum character for classic era, or the vanilla classic era, they're not gonna for TBC.
Okay, but was Classic Era just a like
It was a misstep by
Hold on.
Blizzard.
No,
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 I
hold on. I
don't
wanna
even think it
explain-
was a misstep. I think it was a like, hey, we need to like maintain this so that we can implement what they're implementing now.
No.
Yeah,
They
it's
don't.
basically turning into the trash can. You
They're
go through.
very. It's
and you-
different, right? It's so it's
a
tough to
different
know.
thing, yeah. Like the problem
But
is
what they were saying in Josh's like interview was that when they make changes to Classic Era or to Season of Mastery, like it affects both. So they have to make sure that they like don't affect one without the other, right? Like
they're
Okay,
just on
I
the
was-
same launcher.
Yeah, I was
That's the
gonna.
only-
Classic
I was
Era
gonna
was
bring
a
that up
placeholder.
later, though. I'm
I
gonna.
think Classic Era was a placeholder.
Classic era
though.
still exists though, Mel. That's the
Yes,
problem here.
Yeah, but
is
it's
that
stupid.
Hold on,
and I
Mel.
think it
You're
was
jumping
a
a.
placeholder.
Yeah, you're like this is definitely a talking point later, but you're jumping ahead though.
Well, that's too bad.
That'll come in the question about changes you thought you wanted to do but didn't do. Mel's getting angry over here. All right, so yeah, okay, so Mel's moving us on. We'll let you talk about that, Mel. Like, he asked him what season of mastery changes were considered but didn't make it to live. So this was an interesting one that a whole bunch of YouTubers like used Josh's interview to like complain and bitch. Like, I saw different things. A guy I really like, I'm blanking on his name right now, but he reminds me of Viscount. Yep, might be able to remind me of his name, but he was like, he titled his video, "We Can, But We Won't." And what he's talking about is when Josh asked Brian, what changes did you want to make but you didn't make? Brian pointed out something that I hadn't thought of. Okay, because they're going to throw everybody from Season of Mastery in the Classic Era trash can, they can't make certain player change, like certain class changes. Like if you wanted to change up a class like Paladin or yada yada, well, as soon as they go to Classic Era, that change reverts. So they're bound because they're going, and this goes to your point, Yip, where you're saying there just shouldn't be a Classic Era. They can't make that change because they have to put you in Classic Era afterwards, and so therefore the changes that they make cannot be class changes, cannot be those type of changes. And I thought that was, I don't necessarily agree with it, but I understood where they were coming from at that point.
There's
Okay, so
a
here's my question. Here's my question, real fast. Do you think that they will let Season of Mastery players go to TBC?
Well, they have not said anything about that at all. They've only said they're going to
So what are the pros
Classic
and cons
Era.
of that?
Well, but did you? What I-
Well, I think that's a good question because, like, it's so yeah. I think it's a great question because I think the assumption is that we will get fresh TBC. So if there's a fresh TBC, then and it coincides with the end of Season of Mastery, like, would that just make sense, right? But at the same time, I don't know. That's maybe not. I kind of love the idea of like a fresh TBC where everyone starts at level 1.
And I think
That-
everybody that likes fresh wants that too. That was
Yeah.
that was kind of my point. But
Okay, but
my
starts
point
at
was
1. Wait. Starts at 1. Like, I'm talking about, like, do you think your Season of Mastery character can then transfer to TBC?
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
I think that's
we
a great
don't know
question.
that.
I have no idea.
But Yip was about to answer the question that I asked.
this
Mine was
this
better.
to me, there's this. I don't know if we're cool. I don't know if we were allowed to talk about Louis C.K. anymore. But he has this joke that I like. That is like, in Clifford the Big Red Dog. Every problem in that book is caused by the fact that he's very big. But it's like, you drew him that way. It's like to complain about, oh, we can't make class changes because we'd have to make it for Classic Era. You made it that way. Just make a separate server
Well, and that's
where you
the whole.
can make class. Yeah,
That's the
I
whole point.
understand the
They've
negative feedback.
they've set
like
themselves up to constrain themselves because of Classic Era, and Classic Era isn't even popular. So maybe just throw that out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, you're never going to convince a community that your hands are tied when you made a decision to do it that way, right? Like that's basically all it comes down to. And I mean, there are other things that I think people are mad about in this interview as well too, but that sort of thing to me, it's like, hey, like I want to make a turkey sandwich, but I don't like turkey. How do I make it better? And it's like, well, just don't make a turkey sandwich then. Like, just do something different if you want to do something different. You're the lead. Like,
I just felt bad for him at that point because the decision they made to have them go to Classic Era at the end governed other decisions later on, and it gave me an insight to the struggles that they deal with on a day-to-day basis, and it kind of made me feel bad for him.
I worked at a software company. I know that they're doing Scrum and Agile and that they have sprints. And every 2 weeks, they probably get to their meeting again to come up with their sprint that they're going to work on. Every 2 weeks, they analyze what they're going to do, probably, over the next 2 weeks.
Sprints like
So,
sprinting?
no. So they'll decide what they want to do in a short period of time, and then they'll complete it. And then they'll complete it. And that's how most software companies work, where they work in a way where
Look
you
at the
can
long
make quick adaptations. It blows my
There's some
mind for them to
marathon
say,
people.
okay, Mel. There's
Look at
not really.
sprints.
There actually really isn't that. There aren't actually marathon people anymore. If you want to be competitive, you need to be able to change what you're doing very quickly. So for them to say like, well, we made a decision and well, we just never talked about it again.
Yeah,
Like,
old
okay.
Blizzard was the last bastion of the marathon like mentality. Them saying it's done when it's done. It was the glory years, they're gone. We're talking about what we can do going forward.
Yeah, I think it's just silly to like I don't see any reason. I don't know. I don't see any reason they need to talk about like band-aid fixes to anything when they have full control. They can do whatever they want. Right?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't envy them. I think they have kind of backed themselves into a corner with what they can do, but also they built the corner to
Yeah.
Yip's point. Like they built this house, they put the corner where they did, and now they're backing up into it saying like, "Oh, we're stuck." And it's like, "But you built it." Um yeah, I mean in 2 years from now, it's whatever classic is I have no idea. And there's a chance they don't know,
Yeah.
right?
They
I think
don't.
it's
I feel like
guaranteed they
they
don't
don't
know.
know.
Like,
They're taking my idea, or like the ideal for me is that they take the data and they understand like what the classic community wants. And I get it that there's so many different like holes of people that want different things, but there's a definite like market for certain things and they need to go with that.
yeah, okay, um, so they were talking about going back. This one was really interesting to me, and I wished I was on the call so I could ask what the heck forked meant, because Josh asked him, uh, "Is there anything you would change if you could go back in time?" And he talked about different things that they didn't think about, but he kept saying the word forked the code. Can anybody tell me what forked the code means?
It means fucked. He fucked the code.
But does it mean they threw it out or they pulled it out, or what does it actually
I need the
mean?
full sentence.
I mean, dude, it was throughout the entirety of the
Okay.
answer. He said we
Okay, when
forked the code here, we forked the code there, and I kept trying to get context to figure
I
out
mean, I
what he
could
was
be
saying.
wrong,
And I
but
just did, like, it sounded like forked meant they removed all the code, because I guess like at the start they removed all the code that was retail-esque, and then they had to add that back in during during the TBC launch, and because different things were easier the way the new code was.
okay, Bob, listen. You need to understand that in software engineering, a project fork happens when a developer takes a
Did
copy
you
of
just
source
Google
code
it?
from one software package and start independent development on it. So that means they took classic era and then they just fixed classic era.
Oh,
I think that's
fork,
what they
like a
meant.
fork in the road.
Oh my
I
god, you didn't get that? That's what I thought. I was like, hey, it's like
Hey, I've
do it
got a
this way
smooth
or this
brain.
way.
Leave me alone. But
Nah.
my point was to like get this conversation out,
back on
because
track.
one
Oh,
no, one of the things, like I have very few like I thought Josh did a great job interviewing him, but as I listened to the interview, the first thing I would have said was, "Can you explain to the listeners what forked means?" Because
yeah, that's
he was using
I can
it a lot.
understand that.
So yeah, so I was just curious about that. But he talked about the different things he would do going back. Like one of the biggest things was, and I still don't know how they made this mistake, but he was like, I would have made more servers off the bat. I feel like that's a
Yeah.
JL and Brack fault, because like you think you do, but you don't. But you have a guy that doesn't understand how many people wanted this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hindsight's 2020. I'm actually kind of in favor of whenever they're going to like make a small subsection of WoW. I would like there to be populated servers, right? If they made one server that was hardcore only, let's say, like you can only come here if you're playing hardcore, and then
And
all
we
of a
call
sudden you
it
needed two or
cargos.
sure, and let's say they actually needed 2 or 3 servers. I think if you're talking about a niche gameplay, I think it's actually okay to have like a smaller. I don't fault them as much in a season of mastery scenario than when like classic WoW actually came out and they had to increase servers,
Yeah.
because I can understand them. They don't want to have what's happening right now where there's servers that are
Yeah.
dying like crazy in classic.
Well, and that's something interesting. Like I've been here and done this. So we had a bunch of friends coming over that were tourists, and they left Mel and I. But we had a bunch of friends that started on Whitemane with us, and they were complaining about the queues, and we were like, it's going to be worth it,
Yeah.
because after the tourists leave, we're going to have an actual server instead of a dead server. I'm telling you, I've played MMOs my entire life. I've played a ton of them. And that's what happens. Always get on the biggest server. It's your best bet. And just deal with the queue. So, and now, now we're just moving towards just everybody has the biggest server. But
Yeah. Which it's also, I think, different in TBC. Like I feel like it works better in TBC to have these sort of mega servers because the game just functions differently. Like you guys have said, it's more of a raid log expansion versus vanilla. There's like so many people vying for like consumes and resources for every single week, and there isn't like there's still raid logging, but there's like more of a need to go out and farm the open world. So it's like too many people is bad, too few people and it feels dead, and like all these things. So
Okay,
and
if
in
we
TBC
had Kim managing our raid bank, what do you think? How would Classic have gone? Like, let's
if
be
we didn't
real.
have,
if we had Kim doing the bag
yeah,
during Classic, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's a very different economy. But like what you were talking about, the open world, I think they literally with layers solved that problem. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't like it, but unfortunately, with the amount of people that you have, you need layers. Like the old school servers were never over like I think 4,000 was the biggest server ever during vanilla and TBC. So having layers just makes it actually a healthier economy that you kind of need. Like, and that's the difference. Like, there's a whole nother conversation there. Like, we don't really want to get into that, but yeah, like, but still, like, it kind of, the mega servers kind of keep everybody good because on a dead server, you're just screwed.
Yeah.
All right, so the last one, and this is the big one that got a lot of people angry at the interview overall, and that's the botting, maze boosting, GDKP talk, and gold buying talk. And so let's start with botting. So Brian made a comment that I had never actually thought of, and I probably should have. We all probably should have. He said like he had one instance where he goes and a player says, I've reported this guy multiple times and he's always here. And he goes to his guys that the band bots, and he's like, hey, they said that, this guy's been here forever. And he's like, yeah, well, we banned him and his name was gone. He just made the bot with the same name. Like, and I thought that was really interesting because I never thought about
can I
a
point
botter
something
that
out
would
now?
be silly enough to make the same name. But I guess if you have the code written, Sorry, go.
I don't know if do you know the response to that? Are you aware of the response to what he just said? Because he's lying.
I mean,
Like,
I've listened to the interview twice because I listened to it once
okay,
and I
so
listened to it back
I
with
meant the
Mel.
response of the community. The names do not free up after you ban somebody. That does not happen. So
Really?
he's
So it's
wrong.
different from deleting a character?
A banned character's name is in the database still.
No,
It does not
permabanned
free
though.
up. It does not free up the character name.
Are you sure about that?
It's a lie, dude. People are mad about him saying this because it isn't true. People have seen people who are so-called banned and they have the same character name and level. These are the same people. And he's getting a lot of backlash now because people who've been permabanned are coming out saying, no, I couldn't make a new character with the same name. For a fact.
Okay,
I mean,
so
I could be wrong, but there are a ton of people coming out mad about
all
it.
right, well, you've
because it's
got to
not
give
true.
me a link to
I mean, look
an
at the
article.
comments on.
Well, no,
I mean, you can just look at the comments. I don't know about articles.
yeah, I'm just
I'm
saying,
talking
like,
about community feedback.
I would like to link it in the show notes if we actually do have
Yeah,
something.
we can find something.
But I know that if I delete a character, I can make the same character name immediately because I've done it multiple times.
Yeah, we're not talking about
Right.
deleting characters. We're
Because
talking about,
I don't think it deletes it when it gets permabanned. It just locks it away.
right.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, then
Yeah.
that's something that I did not know.
Yeah, so they're not banning people. Like I hate to put it this way, but that I don't know. You should have been more careful
Is
about
that
saying that, as far as I can tell.
they are definitely banning people though, because just like look at New World,
All right,
you'll
they're
see
doing
20
wave
bots
bans.
like standing in one spot, like farming. Like they have to be banning some people. Like it's just like it's going in waves. Like so, I don't know about the whole thousands a day. I don't know that that's actually accurate because Blizzard's always done waves where they do like each month they ban a ton, right?
I think at the no matter what, it's hard because of like the motive for banning versus not banning. And that's something that I don't think we will ever know unless Blizzard like releases like full transparency, which like they're probably not going to do. They don't even want to release sub numbers anymore. But there's I think what like the community has, the issue that the community has is that they know that the only way these bots can exist is if there's an account getting paid for somewhere. And so all of these bots with all of their like negativity and for like towards the player base, towards the game, at the end of the day, that's like a paid subscription that Blizzard's getting. So is it that Blizzard 100% is against all botting and wants to get rid of them, does not care about the money? Or is it Blizzard understanding like, okay, well, we make a certain amount of money from these bots. How do we want
Right.
to approach the bots? And if there's any part of Blizzard that has that conversation at all, that's a cause for concern, I think, for the average person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there is. You know that they're sitting there saying, we can ban, but it's in their best interest to ban 25 bots, then buy new subscriptions,
And
ban
character
25
boosts.
bots, then buy new subscriptions, ban 25 bots. Right?
And
Like
character
that is in
boosts.
their best interest.
All I know is that in RuneScape, if you bot, you're banned within like 6 to 8 hours, and that game has a much smaller team and budget. That's all.
Yes,
That's
and
all
they
I know.
also have a much
To see a
less
level 40 hunter. So I did a little grinding series on
yeah,
my
but
YouTube channel where I grinded, and to see the same hunter over the course of a week who is on 24 hours a day farming with a name that is smashed letters that I've reported multiple times means they don't do it. They do not ban people. Like, and if it's they're waiting to ban people, if they're just doing it in waves, he says they do thousands a day. I see zero reason why someone who is clearly botting wouldn't be banned within within a couple of days of an initial report.
yeah,
It
but they
blows my
can't just
mind.
take a report and ban
No, they
somebody.
but this is someone who's on 24 hours a day. We're talking about a guildless mage who's in Stratholme for 16 hours a day or 18 hours a day. They can't figure out at all if there was a bot involved. They can't. There's no automated
I don't
detection
know. I
system.
don't know.
If
It's
once someone's
yeah.
banned, it's just the problem is to someone like me who can see a bot do more than that I'm doing and won't get banned in the week that I keep reporting them, they're not doing enough. Period. Anyone
Okay,
who
so
sees this,
we need to get the dev on our podcast. That's all I'm hearing from this.
Well,
no,
and
because they're gonna give
his story was like he was searching for large venom sacks for AQ, and he was reporting bots that he thought were bots, and then he realized one was a player. And my question to him would have been like, why didn't you do what I do when I'm trying to figure out if someone's a bot? /S space. What are you doing, dude? /T space name. What are you doing, dude? Are you there, dude? Like, if they can't type, they're a bot, in my opinion.
Yeah. The other thing is, like bots don't appeal bans. It's not
Yeah.
worth their time. Everything that I've read about this and I know about this, like bots just don't appeal bans.
Well, one of the
Players
reasons
appeal
it's not worth
bans.
their time though is because they don't get banned until they make more than the account value back, right? They
Right,
make
that's fair.
more in
Yeah.
gold than a subscription costs.
So
Right,
you're
right,
saying
but
they allow them to live long enough to make that gold so they'll make another account. Oh,
That's my personal belief.
where's my
that-
tinfoil hat? I like that. I like that.
the reason waves work best for them is because they allow them to make it worthwhile on both ends. They make $100 for their $15 they spent, and then they make a new account, and then Blizzard gets a new account, and that's just what they do. That's
Yeah.
my opinion.
For me, it just comes back to like if there's any hesitation from Blizzard on just like doing every absolute thing in their power to get rid of bots, if there's any conversation about like, what are the benefits? Should we let them do anything? Then there's a problem. And I have a really hard time believing that they are like completely one-sided in this and that bots are bad and they want to get rid of all bots and they never want any botting to happen ever. That's like, it seems ridiculous to me that they're
I mean, I
that
think you
that's where
look
they are.
at how much money do they make from bots, and are they willing to like take that away? And I don't think they are.
It is a lot of money.
It's gotta be.
Yeah. And I think that was their analysis, right? Like, should we take away bots or should we appear to take away bots? Right? Okay, sorry.
I just imagine Bobby Kotick sending like an email to the bot companies like, "Hey, can you guys keep this in dungeons so that people don't see you as much?" But yeah, it's a tough call because bots are everywhere in every game, and New World has shown us that they're rampant if you don't like cut the weeds at some
Listen,
point.
there's no point in even talking about New World. They built a game. They didn't know what they were doing. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You can window the game and you're invincible if you window it and drag the window around. So like, I don't
Well,
want to
and
make any
did you hear about
comparisons to New World.
Did you hear about the most recent thing where people just logged in and had like gold cap?
Oh, nice. I did not hear about that.
Yeah.
But somehow it doesn't surprise me because they built the game and they didn't know what they were doing. So, not shocking. But I'll harken back for the last time to RuneScape because they know how to get on a community side. I mean, they had a lot of hate, of course, as well, but they post bot stats regularly. Just recently, I tried looking for it. I don't have the tweet offhand, but they posted over a 6-month period the amount of accounts that got banned, the amount of gold that got banned from those accounts. Like they make it a community thing. They have streams where they show people getting banned. They have events for their RuneFest or convention where they'll have like a bot banning event and they'll ban like 1.5 million bots that they find in that event. And they do this stuff and it encourages the community that they're on our side about bots. Right? They're showing us what's going on. They're showing what they're doing, and together we're like, yeah, let's get the bots down. But instead, like this, we're all talking about, well, you can understand why Blizzard would have a profit motive for not banning the like that is insanity. That the integrity of the game needs to be discussed in a way where we all kind of agree that they could absolutely be doing more, and they're probably choosing not to. That's a sad state, even if it's not true. It's sad that we believe that it's true.
You have to like barter between, is it better to have bots or is it better to keep more people that are going to be long-term players?
It's not. I don't think they should ever think that
Can't
way.
answer that question.
They
Is
shouldn't
more
think that
money
way.
better or less money better?
Yeah, I
Right.
just the integrity of the company and the game is ruined by just the question being posed at all.
Mm,
Like once you ask the question, we've already lost, and that's how I feel.
I disagree.
Well, you are the money person on the podcast, Mel, so that
I'm
makes
not
sense.
the money person.
So, speaking of money, he also talked to about GDKPs, and he talked about running GDKPs himself, and then he talked about like, well, do you ever like sit back and think, well, did they get this money for real, or is it because of gold buying? And GDKPs, in my opinion, are basically gold buying money launderers. But what do you guys think about the GDKP talk?
I mean, I personally, and I said this with Mike Ybarra as well too, who boosts in retail. I don't agree with Blizzard employees doing anything that takes advantage of a player base to gain gold that is coming from places it shouldn't come from. when you are doing something that is counter to the integrity of the game and you work there, I think that there is a conflict of interest. And even if there's not, like, even, if we want to talk like, the meta ethics of the situation and whether or not it's right or wrong, I just think to inspire and encourage people in the game, they should not be doing anything like that if they work at the company.
I
I
think
think it's too weirdo.
GDKPs were, I don't know, in my opinion, took the entire essence of Classic out of it. Like, the essence of Classic was you find people to work with and you build that to achieve a goal. And GDKPs just made it easy for people to casually play.
Yeah.
I did a lot of GDKPs.
Oh, I got no problem with GDKPs. Like,
Well, yeah.
I don't
Hey,
dislike them.
Yeah, no, and I'm not. I didn't mean to put you guys like on blast or like a rebuttal or anything. But I mean, I did GDKPs with like knowing for certain there were people in those raids that bought gold.
100%.
But I also do like I knew that I wasn't buying gold, and I knew that like the gold that I was getting from it, I was going to just like use to play the game. And it was better for like I knew that I was also going to have more fun in a GDKP environment than a normal pug environment, because the GDKPs that I did had like extra incentives for good play and stuff like that. So
often GDKPs were some of the best raids on our server. The really
Yeah,
high-end
Whitebane-
GDKPs ended up being really, really strong raids.
Whitebane has a really good, like, had a really good, and still does, I think, in TBC, a really good GDKP scene. I was hearing Snowby talk about Farolina and how it's really bad compared to Whitebane for GDKPs, and it's kind of funny to hear, like, different servers. It all depends on who's running them, and
yeah,
I've ran them. I know Yips ran them. I don't think Mel ever ran a GDKP, but like,
100% no.
but like, yeah, we've
Hey,
all done it.
I don't have. I personally believe that every issue with a game comes from the top. It doesn't come from a player participating in the system. If you're a player taking advantage of a system that exists, you are well within your right to do that. Whether it's like you're getting bought gold from someone. Heck, even honestly, in Classic, no one got banned for buying gold. I don't even blame people for buying gold in Classic Vanilla because it was within the system, right? People were doing it and not getting banned. It's within the system. So I can't blame those people. So to me, it's like when you have a systemic problem, it needs from the top down, needs to be fixed from there. And again, it all comes back to gold buying. It comes back to bots. It's all intertwined with each other. Where
Well,
if that gold's going to get out somehow, the GDKP is just an easy way to do it. There was that the Hunger and Cold, or was it Gressel that went for 98,000 gold or something?
Gressel.
Gressel, yeah.
So obvious. But
And
it's just
Yip, to your point, if bots weren't there, these things would have been a lot cheaper. Consumables would have been a lot, or
so
like
you
maybe
can't
not
blame someone for
cheaper,
participating.
but
Yeah.
maybe
The
like
price of things would have made more sense.
the price
Yeah.
would have been different. You would have been able to sell the stuff that you farm for a higher price, buy the stuff at a higher price. Like, there's no way for us, I've talked about this many times, there's no way for us to know what the economy is like without bots because we've had bots. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way to know.
Yeah, and it's always going to be a problem. There's never going to be no bots. Like that's not. No one is suggesting that they need to get rid of 100% of bots. It's just that you have this insane loop, and when you have a guy going up there, and to my knowledge, and again, I want to preface this: this is not first source knowledge, where he's lies about people seeing the same name over and over again has to do with them recreating characters when it seems to be the case that those people just weren't banned. And then that person is then participating in GKPs and running them. It's like this weird feedback loop of like, okay, well, why don't you spend some of that GKP time and ban more bots? Like, you're gaining, but you're also one of the few people who can solve the problem. I can't be
Again,
mad at a player. A
if
player
you-
can't solve the problem.
if
But
you
if you
could
can
f-
solve the problem, you shouldn't be participating.
If you could find me a link to this, I'd love to include it in this because, like, I'd love to see like a Reddit conversation, something that like helps prove what you're saying right now, because
Sure.
I haven't seen that, so would like to. Oh well, this has been a good show. It's been quite crazy. Like
A good time. There it is.
WoW Classic is fucking
That's about it.
amazing. That like we have so many different aspects of it, and moving on into the different seasons of Mastery, and then even the people that are wanting to move on to Wrath. Like we've got a few years in front of us of exciting times. So let's look forward to that. Hope that we can, keep the conversation going. Season of Mastery has showed us that the team is willing to make changes, so let's try and help them do that. All right.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, I thought that was like I didn't know it was like a call and answer. We're with Bob on this one.
Yeah, Bob.
I was just trying to make some positivity, but let's move on to the add-on of the week. We haven't done an add-on of the week in a while, but I wanted to tell you guys about SafeQ. SafeQ is an add-on that just takes away that pesky leave
We
button.
already done this.
No, we haven't done. No,
it's been
it's
sitting
been
there
in the
forever.
notes. Yeah, we haven't done an add-on of the week for like a month and a half. So SafeQ basically just saves you from accidentally opting out of your queue and not being able to jump in with your friends. It also takes away most of the add-on problems you run into with your add-on needing to be disabled for you to join, like that pesky thing where you have to like right click on the button on your mini map to jump in. SafeQ just basically just keeps you safe. You should check it out. It's an easy add-on. SafeQ.
No.
All right.
Do they pay you for that, Bob? That was like
I
an
know,
ad
right?
read for SafeQ.
Well, I've been waiting to talk about it forever.
Yeah, it's Bob's
You
been
can
turning
use
the-
it anywhere. It works perfectly.
Check it out at
Yeah.
safeq.no. Yeah.
But yes, it is Bob especially. I don't have this issue, but Bob every time we're BGing is like, I gotta get in, and like I have to right click, and it's a problem for some people. Get safe and it's cool. It gives you a little
Nice,
button
Bob.
center queue.
All right. Well, let's close out the show. If I can find, there it is. So don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can follow the Mash Those Buttons Network at the Mash Network. We're enjoying your emails. Keep sending them to wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to join our Discord and interact with the hosts or any hosts on any show on the Mash Those Buttons Network, that's mash.gg/Discord. How can you help the podcast? Well, you guys have been doing it. You guys have been telling your friends, get them to listen to it, make bets on who's going to die the most the next week. And then the other way is to give us ratings and reviews. We had a couple more reviews this week. They seem to come in waves. We couldn't read them all this week, but we will definitely read them next week. You can do that on iTunes or Apple Podcasts or at Warcraft Reloaded, warcraftradio.com/directory. All right, guys. Where can we find you, Ryan?
Hi, you can find me now freshly on everything at The Yip Show. So Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube.
The Yip Show. And Mel, where can we not find you?
Okay. You can find me on Discord. No. You can't find me on Discord. God, you can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch, kind of. Or you can find me in game on Mel Arena or Mel No Aim.
Yeah, you want to find her on Mel No Aim, and then you want to kill them, and you want to camp them.
No. Don't do that. Don't do that.
All right, and Duranasaur. Talk about it all. YouTube, whatever, Twitch. Where can we find you?
Twitch.tv/Duranasaur. And then I think if you just look up Duranasaur on YouTube, same thing. Twitter, I'm Duranasaur24. There was just too many of them before I got there. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
And that's DURANASAUR.
Yep.
You can find me on Twitter at blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. You can find me sometimes streaming twitch.tv/blazingbob. All right, guys, let's get out of here, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye. Thanks for all the new hardcore viewers coming in and hanging out with us. That was fun.
Oh man, yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. Good
Bye,
night. Oh,
Bye.
all right, so you guys can stop your local recordings, but I definitely need to raid somebody. Let's try and find somebody here. What
We're gonna start
about
streaming for another 800 hours.
what about Crix?
We'll raid you back.
No, please no.
Let's raid Crix.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Crix would be a good one.
Crix was our guest last week, so it seems like a perfect one to do. Tell him we said hi, and tell him we're gonna have him back on again soon. He was like, "Dude, you guys do this every week? I'll come on next week." But we already had a guest, so tell him we said hi, and we will see you guys later. Oh, I did that wrong. You see in chat?
What did you do?
I did the slash in front of
no.
Crix Gaming.
Oh no.
All right.
look-
Raid going. And we're raiding now.
3, 2.
And
What is this? 7?